In the cutthroat world of corporate politics, competence is measured by silence and absolute obedience. High above the glowing city, a powerful superior demands total submission from his rising star. This is Lee Hanrock, a man who clawed his way to the top with nothing. By age 35, he became the deputy head of the prestigious TK Entertainment empire, but a sudden bribery scandal threatens to shatter everything he worked so hard to build. Clenching his fist in silent rage, he denies every single lie being thrown his way. His superior sneers, claiming that 3 different witnesses have already sealed his dark fate. Faced with a blatant frame-up, Hanrock can only laugh at the sheer absurdity of it. The elder's face contorts with malice as he warns the young executive to stay silent. To bury him further, they reveal a fabricated peer review marking him as a failure. He mocks Hanrock for rising through the ranks with such terrifying, lightning speed. Pure talent made him the youngest deputy, but talent alone creates powerful enemies. By refusing to join their corrupt circles, he painted a massive target on himself. To the jealous executives, he was a rival who could never be controlled. They decided to do whatever was necessary to erase him from the industry forever. Standing amidst the ruins of his career, the cold realization finally sinks in. The man orchestrating this entire nightmare was standing right in front of him. Manager O smiles, finally dropping the mask of a mentor to reveal a monster. He admits Hanrock is innocent, but his existence simply got in the way. To secure his own promotion, the veteran executive is ready to sacrifice everything. Manager O offers a final chance for the fallen executive to serve him. A heavy silence falls as he considers the price of his soul. With cold eyes, he delivers a refusal that shatters any hope of reconciliation. A powerful hand clamps down, mocking him for having more talent than sense. The veteran executive sneers, questioning why he refuses to know his place. Suddenly, the past returns with memories of a family broken by illness. He remembers his father's bitter regret and the bottle that fueled his despair. His father's final wish was for his son to avoid his mistakes. Snapping back to the present, he is ordered to resign and disappear forever. In a shocking move, he bows low and begs to finish his final project. Manager O mocks his dedication, claiming work is all he ever thinks about. He is granted a mere 3 months to finish before being cast out. A sharp knock at the door breaks the heavy silence of the executive office. An assistant enters with the forged documents that will seal his professional fate. The corrupt executive snatches the files with a cold, predatory hand. A wicked smile spreads across his face as the trap is finally set. Returning to the office floor, the air feels colder than ever before. His colleagues look away, pretending his downfall isn't happening right before their eyes. They abandoned him after ensuring his performance reviews were nothing but garbage. Even as a nervous subordinate approaches, the weight of their lies feels crushing. The quiet lounge masks the devastating betrayal unfolding within these corporate walls. He intended to walk away with his dignity after one final project, but as he confirms his departure, the atmosphere suddenly turns heavy with dread. A nervous subordinate reveals that the manager has been moving behind his back. Instinct screams that a trap has been sprung while he wasn't looking. His entire team's progress was secretly transferred to a rival executive's control. Rage boils over as he realizes his hard work was hijacked this morning. They are shamelessly stealing his credit to bury him under a mountain of lies. The horrifying reality sets in that he has been framed beyond any redemption. His legacy is gone, and his future is stolen by those he once served. The foundation of his career shatters like glass as his team collapses into chaos. Betrayal stings as he realizes the manager never intended to keep his word. Fury takes hold because he refuses to let them trample his dignity any longer. He marches toward justice, determined to expose the corruption to the audit team. But before he can speak, 2 shadows loom over him in the cold hallway. The investigators flash their badges, demanding he follow them immediately for questioning. They claim a report was filed, handing over the very evidence of his downfall. His heart stops as he stares at the one thing that could destroy him. It is a photo of the exact moment he supposedly accepted a massive bribe. In a single instant, the truth is twisted into a lethal weapon against him. The investigators refuse to name the coward who stabbed him in the back. Whispers fill the hall as the company's rising star falls from grace. Then he sees him, Kim Youngdu, a brother since their school days. The man he trusted watches in silence as Hanrock's life is dismantled. A sudden, violent realization strikes his soul like a bolt of lightning. They shared everything, yet his closest ally was the one who framed him. This betrayal burns deeper than any corporate scheme ever could. He screams the traitor's name as guards drag him toward the abyss. Youngdu doesn't look back while walking away from their shattered bond. Desperation turns to pure fury as his world finally turns to ash. As his vision blurs, the world he knew begins to dissolve into shadow. The audit team's interrogation fades into a hollow and distant ringing. A heavy darkness descends, leaving him with nothing but his own agonizing thoughts. Resentment burns through his mind as he drifts further into the cold unknown. His father's voice returns from the past, pleading for him to live differently. Gasping for air, he wakes to a sight that defies every logical law. His old manager stands there, demanding he cancel his long-forgotten plans. Confusion strikes as he realizes he is standing in his former workspace. A simple desk calendar confirms a date from half a decade ago. Fate has granted him a second chance 5 years before his tragic downfall. The arrogant manager demands he abandon his family to handle a trivial corporate errand. Hanrock remains silent, his mind already set on breaking the chains of his past. He firmly declares he is taking the day off, regardless of the consequences. Without a second glance, he walks away from the man who ruined his life. He remembers the original timeline when he chose the company over his own blood. Now he sprints with everything he has, racing against a clock only he knows. He once gave his loyalty to a monster who deserved nothing but his contempt. Because of that choice, his sister was left to collapse alone on the pavement. The weight of his previous failure fuels every desperate step toward her location. Dream or reality, he will change fate today and save the person he loves. He clutches the phone, begging for one chance to erase a lifetime of regret. He sprints desperately across the asphalt, screaming his sister's name into the air. His sister answers, her voice trembling with confusion at his sudden, frantic outburst. He demands she stay put, terrified that every passing second brings her closer to death. She listens in stunned silence as he promises to reach her side immediately. The chaos of the street fades into the sterile silence of the hospital ward. A doctor delivers the news that the immediate danger has finally passed. Because he moved so quickly, she will recover without the need for surgery. He stares ahead in disbelief, knowing he has successfully rewritten her tragic fate. The agonizing weight of his past failures dissolves into a flood of relief. Watching over his sister, he finally feels the crushing weight of the past lift. His old friend arrives, urging him to take a moment to rest his soul. With a gentle smile, the man offers to keep watch over the sleeping girl. But even in this quiet moment, the fires of vengeance burn in his eyes. His knuckles turn white as he remembers the snakes who tried to destroy him. Needing to speak privately, he leads his companion away from the silent ward. News of his reckless defiance against the corrupt manager has already begun to spread. They stand in the shadows, discussing the dangerous game he has chosen to play. His friend questions why he didn't just endure the abuse for a little longer. But playing it safe is no longer an option for a man seeking retribution. The cold grip of death once claimed the only man he ever truly respected. 15 years ago, a young boy's world shattered as his father breathed his last. A loyal man broken by corporate snakes and the weight of 20 years' betrayal. He failed to heed his father's warning and fell into the same corporate trap. His friend warns him that surviving this world requires playing the political game, but the stench of corruption makes him sick to his very core. He yearns for a place where hard work actually matters more than connections. His companion scoffs, claiming such a fair world is nothing but a fairy tale. A single spark ignites in his eyes as a new, impossible path is suggested. To erase the filth, he realizes he must become the one at the top. He questions if rising to the absolute top could finally cleanse this corrupt system. His friend scoffs at the ambition, wondering if he truly craves that cold power. A heavy silence falls as the reality of the corporate ladder sinks in. Success in this world requires playing a dirty political game he once despised. Despite the risks, a burning resolve ignites within his sharp blue eyes. Memories of his sister's suffering remind him why he can never walk away. To protect his family, he must secure the resources only this company provides. He holds the secret knowledge of a masterpiece destined to change cinematic history, but the shadow of his treacherous superior still looms over every move. With a final nod, he prepares to dive back into the viper's nest. The bitter realization of a friend's betrayal finally starts to make sense. Jealousy is a poison that his enemies used to tear his life apart. He remembers the weight of his failure while leaving his sister's hospital room, but every step he takes now is guided by absolute knowledge of the future. With his marketing genius and foresight, shattering box office records will be easy. He isn't just looking for success, he is chasing a legendary masterpiece. Deep in the archives lies the project that will change the world forever. But the man who orchestrated his downfall still looms over his every move. The corrupt executive whispers threats, doubting he can handle the company's cutthroat politics. Beneath the cold starlight, he vows to never let history repeat itself again. Under the pale moonlight, he decides to finally take his shot at destiny. 3 days after his sister's hospitalization, the real battle begins on the road. His loyal friend worries that returning to the corporate shark tank so soon is suicide. But Hanrock cannot afford to let his stolen project slip away a second time. Youngdu jokes that the entire company would collapse without his genius leading them. The weight of the future makes Hanrock's gaze turn cold and intensely focused. He remains silent for a moment, the atmosphere in the car growing heavy. Breaking the tension, He calls out to the man who once risked everything for him. A rare, genuine smile appears as he acknowledges his friend's hard work and loyalty. Stunned by the unexpected kindness, Youngdu can barely keep his eyes on the road. Inside the car, Youngdu praises the training program Hanrock recently developed for the team. Youngdu humbly credits last year's version, but the results this time were undeniably different. Hanrock offers a rare, genuine compliment, catching his loyal friend completely off guard. Their playful banter fills the vehicle as they navigate through the busy city streets. Youngdu smiles, truly touched by the recognition from the man he deeply respects. Hanrock promises to always be there whenever his friend needs a helping hand. Suddenly, Hanrock's sharp gaze narrows as he spots something impossible in the air. A mysterious red thread now binds their wrists together, pulsating with an eerie light. He questions the strange connection, but Youngdu looks back with nothing but pure confusion. It becomes clear that only Hanrock can see this supernatural link between their fates. Returning to the corporate battlefield, the silence of the office feels strangely heavy today. Manager Hyun rushes in, his face pale with genuine concern for my sister's life. He offers any assistance I might need, showing a kindness I completely ignored before. This man famously despises extra work, yet here he is, prioritizing my family's well-being. I realize now that my past coldness pushed away the only true allies I had. Checking my messages, I see Kim Yuseon is already working hard on the project. She is a dedicated employee who managed everything while I was away on leave. I watch her closely, knowing her competence is vital for my next moves. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts as a critical error regarding final approvals comes to light. A simple mistake born from exhaustion could jeopardize everything we have built so far. Hanrock types a frantic apology, preparing to face the consequences of his recent absence. He stands before the one man who can either save or destroy his plan. Department head Jung Min-shuk is a calculating legend, recently returned from a bitter exile. The stone-faced executive barely looks up, ordering the documents sent through the internal messenger. Hanrock confesses the fatal error, revealing the project skipped the final stage of approval. The superior's gaze turns lethal as he asks if a junior staffer failed her duties. Hanrock takes the blame, but the ruthless executive demands the girl face him personally. A cold, silent understanding passes between them as the pressure reaches a breaking point. Outside, Yuseon breaks into a cold sweat, realizing her career is on the line. Hanrock approaches his terrified subordinate, ready to shield her from the coming corporate storm. Yuseon cowers in shame, certain her career ends with this single mistake. Instead of a reprimand, Hanrock offers praise for her hard work and dedication. Stunned, the young employee listens as her senior expresses genuine gratitude. He encourages her to move past the error, prioritizing her well-being over corporate perfection. Her lips tremble as she finally finds the words to thank him. She vows to work even harder, unaware of the mystery unfolding before them. Suddenly, Hanrock's sharp gaze catches a supernatural anomaly, invisible to the naked eye. A glowing red thread of fate has mysteriously manifested, binding their souls together. He questions the mark on her arm, but she sees absolutely nothing there. Despite her confusion, the spectral bond pulses with an eerie, undeniable power. Hanrock warns her that the department head is demanding answers about the poster. He offers stern advice while a mysterious red thread begins tightening around her wrist. Despite the pressure, he reveals he has already handled the necessary corporate approvals. He instructs her to simply apologize and remain cautious around their cold superiors. As she accepts his guidance, the spectral bond glows with a strange, new intensity. Hanrock watches in silence, realizing the supernatural mark is physically reacting to her. He tries to lighten the mood with coffee, but she insists on paying. Her anxiety is visible as she desperately tries to show her immense appreciation. A deep sense of gratitude washes over her, making the red thread pulse brightly. Hanrock ponders the mystery, realizing her sincere thanks triggered this impossible anomaly. Hanrock notices the mysterious glow darkening as her sincerity grows even stronger. He wonders if the color shifts based on the depth of one's gratitude. These impossible threads keep appearing, tying his fate to those around him. For now, he decides to push the mystery aside and move forward. He dives back into his work, preparing for the corporate war ahead. Meanwhile, in the manager's office, Kim Yuseon is called to face judgment. She stands before Manager Hyun, taking the heat for a bold, unapproved move. The pressure is suffocating as he demands total control over every single print. Suddenly, the tension breaks when he questions Hanrock's abrupt and suspicious departure. She quickly covers for him, hiding the truth behind a nervous, forced smile. Yuseon trembles, realizing her desperate lie is quickly falling apart under intense scrutiny. She tries to frame Hanrock's disappearance as nothing more than a simple misunderstanding. But the department head isn't buying it, knowing the schedule was already set. Cornered and breathless, she searches for any excuse to keep the secret safe. The weight of the corporate hierarchy threatens to crush her resolve in an instant. Unseen by the world, a spectral thread binds her destiny to her missing savior. She doubles down, claiming an urgent emergency forced him to leave the office. A cold, piercing gaze searches for any sign of weakness behind her trembling mask. The interrogation ends abruptly, letting her escape back into the safety of work. However, the lazy manager is now watching. Sensing something is deeply wrong here, Hanrok towers over his superior while the office gossips about the manager's cruelty. He stares back with a cold resolve that masks the storm brewing inside him. As he turns to leave, the whispers of his colleagues fill the tense air. Without warning, a thunderous slam against the desk brings the entire floor to a halt. He closes the distance, forcing the terrified man to look him in the eyes. The corrupt executive breaks into a cold sweat as Hanrok demands a sincere apology. Fury blazes in his gaze, signaling that he is no longer a mere subordinate. He announces to everyone that the manager's interference almost cost his sister her life. A suffocating weight descends upon the office as the predator becomes the prey. The manager realizes too late that Hanrok is willing to burn everything down. Fear flickers in the eyes of the man who once held all the power. He prays that no one inside the executive offices hears his pathetic whimpering. A shadow falls over him as the weight of his sins finally catches up. He attempts to offer a hollow apology while shifting the blame onto others. Insults directed at a sick family member only push Hanrok past the breaking point. Looking up from his desk, the predator realizes he has become the prey. Hanrok demands the respect he is owed, refusing to back down an inch. The manager trembles with a mix of cowardice and suppressed fury. Panicked witnesses watch as a senior manager finally steps in to stop the madness. Even with hands pulling him away, the regressor is not finished with his revenge. Hanrok walks away, refusing to tolerate the manager's oppressive and illegal demands. The tension reaches a boiling point as the department head suddenly interrupts the confrontation. The cowardly manager immediately bows, desperately framing his outburst as standard workplace discipline. Hanrok watches in silence, disgusted by the man's lightning-fast shift into a pathetic liar. The manager maintains a cold, calculated smile, while sweat betrays his internal terror. Director Young sees through the deception, noting that the screaming sounded nothing like discipline. A heavy silence falls over the office as the predator suddenly faces true authority. Unexpectedly, the frigid director ignores the manager to ask about Hanrok's hospitalized sister. Relief washes over the room when the regressor confirms his sister is finally safe. The office returns to a stunned silence as the director dismisses the entire spectacle. The office atmosphere turns lethal as the failed power play leaves the leadership fuming. Realizing the board has shifted, the corrupt manager can only watch his influence crumble. Violent frustration erupts as years of careful planning vanish under the regressor's cold gaze. Amidst the chaos, a familiar ally approaches with a simple correction to break the tension. Hanrok maintains his composure, acknowledging the woman who once suffered by his side. A warm smile hints at a growing bond that didn't exist in the original timeline. He walks away, knowing that every small interaction is rewriting their tragic history. As the sun sets, the ticking clock signals the start of a grueling corporate war. Late into the night, Hanrok remains focused on the next phase of his vengeance. An exhausted superior warns that the company's crushing demands might destroy them all. An exhausted manager urges him to leave, reminding him of his sister's fragile health. Hanrok holds the perfect design, yet a wall of corporate bureaucracy blocks his path. With the team leader away, his fate rests in the hands of a monster. The corrupt superior sits like a stone wall, fueled by spite and internal politics. This man will paralyze the entire department just to satisfy his own petty grudges. Hanrok stretches through the tension, realizing his enemies are even smaller than he remembered. Suddenly, a mysterious red glow wraps around his wrist, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. Across the room, the woman he saved is bound to him by threads of gratitude. These spectral ties represent the invisible alliances forming within this cutthroat corporate battlefield. For tonight, he retreats, knowing the real war begins when the sun rises again. The office air thickens as a lazy manager suddenly explodes in a violent rage. He bellows about signatures, desperate to finish his work on someone else's back. The stubborn section chief bristles, refusing to yield to such blatant and loud disrespect. Hanrok observes the chaos, realizing the innocent Yuseon is the one being punished. Driven by the tension, she finally pushes back her chair and stands her ground. Exhaustion flickers in her eyes as she steps into the center of the storm. The petty corporate warfare continues to spiral, while she waits for a single signature. Faced with an unrelenting public scene, the defiant chief finally admits total defeat. With the power dynamic shifted, Hanrok tells the exhausted staff to go home. The heavy elevator doors seal shut, marking the end of a long, bitter day. Hanrok apologizes to Yusion as they descend in the quiet elevator. He takes full responsibility for the project, urging her to prioritize herself. The floor indicator hits 1, signaling the end of their grueling shift. Stepping into the lobby, he offers a sincere thanks for her unwavering support. He acknowledges how much she truly backed him up during the corporate storm. With a rare smile, he vows to return the favor when she needs him. She stares back in shock, never having seen this protective side of him. Unbeknownst to her, a mysterious red spectral bond pulses around her wrist. High above the city, the TKENM building looms like a silent titan. Inside the shadows, the corrupt leadership demands a full report on the chaos. A nervous employee stammers through a report, desperate to avoid the executive's wrath. Manager O explodes in fury, blaming everyone for the delays threatening their schedule. The public humiliation continues as he ruthlessly mocks the man's worth and dignity. Amidst the chaos, Hanrok watches with a cold, calculated gaze, ready to strike. He shifts the momentum, presenting overwhelming data that proves his project's massive success. The corrupt manager can only grit his teeth as his authority begins to crumble. Hanrok pushes further, demanding excellence that goes far beyond their mediocre corporate targets. With an icy stare, he mentions the one project that signals their downfall. He knows the precise moment to move, setting his final trap into motion. After years of waiting, the moment for his ultimate corporate vengeance has arrived. A single failure can define a man's entire professional career. It started with a project that was doomed from the beginning, managed by someone who quit before the disaster even struck. The box office numbers told a story of total humiliation. They took a dark masterpiece and marketed it as cheap comedy. Public backlash was swift, leaving a permanent scar on his record. Now, history is threatening to repeat itself in this boardroom. He knows that staying silent means accepting another crushing defeat. Risking everything, he stands up to stop the inevitable disaster. But challenging the department head is a corporate death sentence. Failing to change the manager's mind before led to a corporate nightmare. Hanrok vows that he will never live like a pathetic fool again. This time he will execute every move with cold and perfect precision. The clock strikes for the most important department meeting of his life. His superiors believe he is just another disposable cog in their machine. They think their betrayal is forgotten, but the real war has started. He reveals a hidden report that will shatter the company's fragile peace. As the deadline approaches, he prepares to seize his only winning chance. 5 years of regression knowledge have turned him into a corporate assassin. He knows every weakness of the man who thinks he holds the power. This time, Hanrok isn't planning to play by their corrupt corporate rules. He steps into the boardroom ready to dismantle the empire from the inside. The department head calls the meeting to order, oblivious to the coming storm. Hanrok's cold gaze fixes on the man who truly controls the company's shadows. A titan of the industry appears holding the power of life and death. With a single word, this executive can erase a person's entire career. The massive film festival project represents the ultimate high-stakes battlefield for control. A mysterious spectral bond pulses, linking Hanrok to his most vital secret ally. While the director flaunts his success, Hanrok prepares to spring his lethal trap. Panic begins to set in as the first stage of vengeance finally unfolds. Director Jung asserts his dominance by seizing control of the theater division's operations. The true power players begin shifting entire projects with just a single word. Tension fills the air as the department heads start their status reports. Manager Go confidently claims that the crucial badge production is proceeding without delay. But Hanrok sees through the deception, knowing the man is blatantly lying. The reality of production timelines means a catastrophe is already looming for them. Director Jung narrows his eyes, sensing the weakness in his subordinate's shaky words. Cold sweat pours down as the manager realizes the consequences of missing the deadline. The spotlight suddenly shifts to Hanrok as his new proposal takes center stage. With a calculated gaze, Hanrok prepares to manipulate the corporate board to his will. Director Jung calls for any final words before ending the tense board meeting. Silence falls over the room as the subordinates keep their heads down in fear. Suddenly, a hand pierces the quiet air as someone refuses to let it end. The surrounding staff gasp in shock at the sheer audacity of this lowly employee. Hanrok stares forward with cold eyes and brings up the mystery project. His panicked superior tries to silence him before the director commands him to speak. Cold sweat pours down the manager's face as his control over the room evaporates. Standing tall, Hanrok directs everyone's attention toward the screen to reveal the truth. He presents a cheerful comedy that seems harmless enough to the unsuspecting board members. But the mood shatters as he exposes the film's hidden soul-crushing and brutal reality. The director admits the footage is far more disturbing than anyone ever expected. A heavy silence falls over the room as the staff witnesses the brutal reality. This was never meant to be a simple comedy for the mindless masses. Hanrok warns that their current marketing strategy is nothing but a dangerous lie. He exposes the cowardly attempt to trick audiences into buying a fake experience. The director demands to know the point of this sudden, public strategy execution. Undeterred, Hanrock begins outlining the 5 absolute stages of a successful campaign. He knows that true power lies in capturing the human heart, not just attention. To win, he must exploit the director's own personal tragedy and hidden grief. The board trembles as they realize this gamble could lead to total corporate ruin. Director Jung freezes as a haunting memory from his past suddenly resurfaces. Hanrock remains cold, knowing exactly how to trigger the director's hidden trauma. He drops a bombshell, predicting their current project is headed for total ruin. The board members tremble as Hanrock openly insults their entire marketing strategy. Jung demands to know why his greatest failure is being brought up now. Hanrock exposes the deception that once led to a catastrophic public backlash. They marketed a gruesome war story as a whimsical children's fantasy film. The resulting disaster became the worst box office failure in the company's history. Innocent families were horrified by monsters they were never warned about. That single mistake cost Jung his reputation and sent him into corporate exile. The assistant watches in horror as Hanrock digs up the company's darkest secret. Director Jung remains eerily calm while staring down the man exposing his greatest failure. Instead of exploding in rage, the director surprisingly acknowledges Hanrock's sharp observations. Confusion fills the room as everyone wonders why the director isn't retaliating immediately. With a calculated compliment, Jung moves to shut down the discussion and regain control. The meeting is abruptly dismissed, leaving the regressor seemingly ignored and powerless. Co-workers scurry away, convinced that an assistant manager has finally met his match. The director's absolute dominance is clear, as he treats Hanrock like a minor nuisance. But Hanrock refuses to leave, stopping the powerful executive before he can escape. He reveals he isn't finished yet, because his real trap hasn't even been sprung. The powerful director narrows his eyes, his patience for the regressor finally wearing thin. Hanrock drops a subtle psychological bomb, questioning if the director has seen the evidence. Jung dismisses the threat with cold arrogance, refusing to play into the junior's hands. Playing the part of a submissive employee, Hanrock bows while his trap takes root. He walks away from the executive, knowing exactly when to retreat to maintain control. Suddenly, a furious manager Go intercepts him, violently grabbing him in front of everyone. The entire office watches as the corrupt manager accuses Hanrock of intentional sabotage. With eyes full of malice, the manager demands a private confrontation in the conference room. Behind closed doors, the atmosphere shifts as the corporate vultures prepare to strike back. Hanrock remains calm while his superior tries to break his spirit with petty insults. Hanrock remains stone-faced, completely unfazed by the desperate screams of a failing manager. His thoughts drift back to his chilling ultimatum against the director just moments ago. He knows the clock is ticking on a decision that will change everything. Minutes feel like hours as the entire office waits for the next move. The corrupt superior continues his lecture, unaware he is already walking into a trap. Before the situation can escalate, an unexpected manager breaks through the closed doors. Manager Hyun takes a stand, calling out the blatant harassment happening behind the scenes. He delivers a sharp warning for the aggressor to stay in his own lane. Panic finally sets in, as the corrupt leader realizes he has no allies left. Hanrock stares him down, knowing his secret plan is unfolding with perfect precision. Silence falls over the office as the director calls out Hanrock's name. Colleagues whisper in the shadows, expecting Hanrock to be fired on the spot. The atmosphere grows heavy as the cold executive prepares to deliver his judgment. To everyone's shock, a dark smirk crosses his face as he praises Hanrock. The stunned staff can only watch as their superior admits he was wrong. He dismisses the previous plan as total garbage and tosses it aside. Now, he demands a breakthrough strategy that requires zero additional budget. Hanrock boldly declares he will decide the next move on his own terms. He prepares to reveal a strategy that no one in the room expected. The executive sits back with crossed arms, waiting for the performance of a lifetime. Hanrock watches as invisible threads of influence weave around the cold, motionless director. These spectral connections represent every desperate soul trying to crawl into Jung's favor. Suddenly, a high-stakes call from the finance director threatens to shatter the tension. Hanrock pauses, recognizing the immense power of the man on the other end. With a chilling dismissal, Jung hangs up, choosing to focus solely on Hanrock. In an instant, the metaphorical bond is snapped by a violent, unseen force. Hanrock realizes that Jung cuts through human relationships like a blade through bamboo. The connection falls away, as lifeless as a decapitated corpse hitting the floor. Countless discarded lives already lay at the director's feet, victims of his ruthlessness. If this next move fails, Hanrock knows he will be the next one purged. To be discarded by director Jung is to plummet into a bottomless, silent abyss. Standing at the ultimate crossroads, Hanrock feels a strange, cold lack of any fear. He presents his revised strategy, betting everything on a single, bold marketing pivot. The director stares back, questioning the logic of adding a single, brief trailer shot. Hanrock confirms the high-stakes gamble, needing only 5 seconds to change the game. It is a surgical strike designed to maximize impact while bleeding the budget dry. The director hesitates, his fingers hovering as he demands to see this mysterious footage. A haunting image of a man broken on the rainy pavement fills the screen. By stretching this moment in monochrome, the tone shifts from comedy to pure tragedy. This jarring contrast will force the audience to realize the story's true, dark depth. Hanrock explains that a sudden tonal shift is the key to going viral. The director leans in, sensing the potential for massive community interest. Organic word of mouth is the only marketing tool that money cannot buy. Hanrock pushes further, demanding they replace the movie's main poster immediately. He reveals the haunting sight of a broken man abandoned in the rain. The director stares, realizing the audience won't be able to resist the mystery. Passersby stop in their tracks, lured in by the poster's tragic depth. A strange, spectral energy begins to weave through the very air. Hanrock watches his plan unfold with the cold precision of a regressor. The mysterious bond takes hold as the director finally falls into line. Hanrock faces the cold gaze of the director as his true test finally begins. Every word is a calculated move in a game where one slip means total ruin. Rare praise is offered, but a mysterious black thread now binds the director's wrist. Hanrock's eyes narrow as he witnesses the spectral manifestation of the man's greed. This dark energy confirms the director intends to fully exploit Hanrock's hidden talents. From the shadows, the predator watches his pawn, unaware the roles are already reversed. He admires how Hanrock expertly turned a failing project into a massive corporate victory. A sinister smile reveals that the director is finally ready to play his hand. Manager Hyun suddenly breaks the silence, asking about the secret meeting with the director. The web of lies tightens as Hanrock realizes his every move is being watched. Manager Hyun offers a warm smile, entrusting the safety of his junior to Hanrock. Deep in thought, Yuseon watches her mentor, with a respect that borders on obsession. A simple token of gratitude is offered, masking the weight of corporate alliances forming. As the veteran manager walks away, Hanrock recognizes the hidden power of genuine kindness. He knows this man's true potential is the key to surviving the coming storm. With a sharp click, the seal is broken on a future that never should exist. Drinking deeply, he decides that this is the man he will follow to the top. The empty bottle remains as a silent promise to seize every single opportunity ahead. A cold, calculated smile plays on his lips as he initiates the next phase. Reaching out to a powerful outsider, Hanrock begins dismantling the company from the inside. A frantic editor worries that the tight deadline is now impossible to meet. Hanrock calmly explains that one final adjustment is all it truly takes. Relying on Hanrock's reputation, the man agrees to hear the secret plan. Deep within the quiet office, the trap is slowly being set. The editor gasps as he realizes the sheer brilliance of the proposed change. He leaps up in excitement, calling the new strategy a mathematical masterpiece. Every piece of data on the screen confirms that the tide is turning. With a knowing smile, Hanrock confirms his vision is unmatched in this industry. 2 hours later, the revised plan is delivered directly to his unsuspecting target. Manager Go stares at the impossible estimate, unaware his downfall has just begun. Manager Go senses something is off with the perfect plan he just received. Before he can process the flaws, Hanrock's footsteps echo through the hallway. The ruthless director Young suddenly summons both men into his cold, intimidating office. He demands a budget plan for their most experimental and risky sci-fi project. Hanrock accepts the challenge with a calm that masks his true, lethal intentions. He explains that targeting online cinephiles will trigger a massive, viral social explosion. The director leans in, questioning if this gamble will actually yield any profits. Hanrock prioritizes prestige over money, while Manager Go begins to drown in sweat. Jung decides to move forward, unknowingly walking straight into the regressor's elaborate trap. The director's sharp gaze turns toward Manager Go, marking the beginning of his end. The air in the room turns ice cold as the director demands an answer. He acknowledges that the original plan was trash compared to the regressor's genius strategy. Manager Go trembles and bows, his pride shattered by the man he once despised. Surprisingly, the director admits his own mistake while validating Hanrock's absolute dominance in the room. He commands the corrupt manager to support the man he once tried to destroy. A final, chilling warning echoes through the office, promising that no failure will be tolerated. Even Hanrock feels the overwhelming pressure of a man who controls everything. In just 3 months, the hierarchy has been completely flipped by a single, calculated move. Now, the director pivots to the most critical part of the gamble, the final cost. Hanrock reveals a budget so low it feels like a death sentence for their competitors. Hanrock confirms the impossibly low budget, proving his absolute control over the production costs. The director questions if this meager result was truly the extent of his ambition. A cold smirk reveals his skepticism toward Hanrock's seemingly slow reaction to the pressure. But Hanrock is already 10 steps ahead, preparing to unleash his true marketing masterpiece. His gaze sharpens as he envisions a plan perfectly tailored for their mysterious project. Standing tall, he proposes a high-stakes guest visit that shocks everyone in the room. The director remains doubtful, noting that the film's lead isn't even a known name. This unprecedented gamble would mark the department's first attempt at such a bold move. He issues a chilling ultimatum, reminding Hanrock that failure means total corporate exile. Unfazed by the threat, a confident smile plays on the regressor's lips. Hanrock accepts the challenge with absolute certainty, his eyes burning with hidden knowledge. The strings of fate tighten as he prepares to unleash a game-changing marketing strategy. He promises to transform a routine project into something the industry has never seen. The director watches closely, demanding to see the results of this unprecedented gamble. With a massive budget approved, the regressor finally has the resources he needs. A chilling smirk crosses his face as he prepares to activate his secret plan. This one-of-a-kind program is designed to become the new backbone of corporate marketing. Finding an unexpected ally in the director, the pieces finally fall into place. But the director insists he cannot handle a task this massive alone. Hanrock realizes he must now manipulate the very man who tried to sabotage him. The director dismisses the incompetent manager, shifting the project to a more dangerous team. Hanrock immediately senses a shift in the corporate winds, calculating his next move. Meanwhile, Manager Hyun prepares his team for the coming storm within the office. The director issues a final command that forces former enemies into a fragile alliance. Desperate to save face, the corrupt manager tries to reclaim his stolen project. Rage boils over as he realizes he is being replaced by a mere subordinate. He warns Hanrock that the upcoming task will be a professional death sentence. Unfazed by the threats, the regressor accepts the challenge with chilling composure. The veteran manager scoffs, waiting for the young prodigy to finally stumble and fall. With one phone call, Hanrock reaches out to a powerful ghost from his past. A legendary director receives a call that threatens his carefully guarded privacy. The request for a marketing favor is met with immediate, chilling resistance. Hanrock stands his ground, delivering a refusal that echoes through the office. Silence falls as the first stage of the master plan ends in failure. Alone with his thoughts, the regressor calculates a gamble no one anticipates. His team gathers, sensing the suffocating tension of the director's impossible demands. Manager Hyun breaks under the pressure of a night without any escape. Within the cold meeting room, a desperate strategy is finally laid bare. A single word written in a notebook signifies a total corporate shift. Hanrock reveals his ultimate goal is to force the director onto the stage. Manager Hyun warns that the legendary director despises explaining his own creative vision. Hanrock listens intently, knowing this stubbornness could ruin his entire corporate strategy. Despite the risk, the lazy manager promises to find a crack in that armor. Time ticks away as the deadline for the impossible meeting rapidly approaches. Suddenly, Hyun returns with news that the reclusive director has finally agreed to talk. Hanrock is stunned, questioning how such a miraculous breakthrough was even possible. He soon realizes that Hyun's secret weapon is a simple, cheeky understanding of greed. A massive appearance fee was the only bait needed to lure the legend out. With the path cleared, the regressor makes the call to seal the deal. Deep in his office, the director answers, unaware he is part of a master plan. The reclusive legend finally breaks his silence, demanding to hear the pitch. Hanrock seizes the opening, insisting that the director is the only missing piece. Despite his massive influence, the filmmaker doubts anyone would show up for him. He remains humble, failing to realize his work has achieved legendary status. Hanrock counters that a true masterpiece doesn't need flashy tricks to succeed. Sensing the shift in tone, the director asks what he should even say. Hanrock smiles, knowing that the man's raw passion will captivate the entire room. Hanrock promises that the world is finally ready to hear the director's story. Meanwhile, a bitter rival watches from afar, his face contorted with growing rage. He can only watch in horror as Hanrock's perfect plan falls into place. Manager O seethes as his rival secures a legendary director he could never reach. Desperate to crush this momentum, he prepares a trap disguised as a professional assignment. Hanrock is handed the lead on a project everyone else considers a dead end. The corrupt manager smirks, certain this low-budget failure will finally destroy Hanrock's career. But Hanrock knows the secret history of a masterpiece the world has yet to discover. In the original timeline, this forgotten film only found its glory 5 years too late. The turning point begins with a voice from across the ocean that no one expected. A Hollywood legend stands before a global audience to praise the rising tide of cinema. He reveals a hidden gem translated by a friend that changed his entire perspective. Alejandro Roguez stuns the industry by crowning Hanrock's new project as the absolute best. In the original timeline, a single comment turned a forgotten film into a legend. But the triumph was hollow, as the director vanished into a world of shadows. Now back in the past, Hanrock prepares to manipulate the strings of fate. He reaches out to the reclusive creator, only to be met with deafening silence. A sudden notification breaks the tension with a promise to speak the next day. Morning light hits the office as the first phase of the plan begins. He watches closely as his loyal assistant monitors the rising tide of online interest. The public is stunned by a trailer that defies every known marketing convention. Hanrock remains calm, knowing he has targeted the exact communities needed for success. The spark has officially ignited a fire that will soon consume the entire industry. The cold executive demands an immediate report on the progress of their viral campaign. Nervous whispers reveal that the trailer views are climbing toward an unprecedented height. Even the frigid director admits this project is shattering every record in the industry. Hanrock stares back with total certainty, predicting millions will soon flock to the theaters. As the executive acknowledges his skill, dark spectral threads tighten around his wrist. The regressor realizes the thickness of these mysterious bonds reflects a growing professional trust. Every shifting color in the air reveals the hidden emotions of the powerful players. He flashes a confident smile, knowing his future knowledge makes failure an absolute impossibility. The director scowls at such blatant arrogance, yet he cannot deny the incredible results. Suddenly, a golden light pierces the shadows as the final piece finally clicks into place. Hanrock realizes the director only respects those who back up their arrogance with results. A cold warning hangs in the air, threatening total destruction if the film flops. The regressor laughs off the icy atmosphere before heading to a famous local restaurant. But even at lunch, his colleagues corner him to gossip about his skyrocketing reputation. The entire team stares at him with shining eyes, desperate for his next miracle. He masks his stress, knowing his entire future depends on the next box office report. The conversation turns to a mysterious new project that shouldn't even be on his radar. His co-workers mention a veteran director who has been out of the game for years. They describe an old-timer struggling to adapt to the cutthroat world of modern cinema. Learning this is the legend's comeback film, Hanrock realizes his next gamble has arrived. A veteran director's comeback becomes a tragedy before the film even hits theaters. Drowning in debt and failure, the once great artist spirals into a dark depression. At a crowded lunch, Hanrock's team gossips about the legend's pathetic downfall. Kim Yuseon looks on with worry, wondering if any hope remains for him. Hanrock ignores the pity and decides to reach out to the broken man. The search leads to a small chicken shop far from the glitz of cinema. Inside, the only sounds are the constant pings of food delivery orders. The man answering the phone isn't a genius, just a father wearing an apron. Hanrock proposes a meeting, intending to resurrect a film the world has forgotten. Overwhelmed by the sudden opportunity, the director offers a desperate, humble bow. Hanrock hears the broken director's fading courage and decides to intervene immediately. He promises the man that his cinematic journey is far from over. With cold determination, he vows to etch this forgotten movie into history. He approaches the formidable director Jung to initiate his high-stakes corporate gamble. Hanrock makes it clear that he has no intention of resigning just yet. The atmosphere turns heavy as the executive demands he sit and explain himself. He proposes resurrecting forgotten films as part of a prestigious masterpiece collection. Director Jung questions the impossible 3-month deadline and the lack of theater space. Like a legendary healer, Hanrock plans to bring a dead film back to life. He targets the exclusive TK Filmhouse to secure the ultimate cinematic comeback. He knows that even a single theater can ignite a massive viral wildfire. The forgotten masterpiece, 3 Days, holds a future buried beneath years of deep regret. Director Jung listens intently as the bold marketer reveals his grand cinematic concept. Hanrock explains that capturing every stage of life is the only way to succeed. He pitches a catchphrase that promises the audience can experience 4 distinct lives. The executive peers through the gap, contemplating the weight of a complete cinematic journey. A mysterious yellow thread glows, signaling that the cold director is finally hooked. Hanrock notices the shift in energy, sensing his high-stakes gamble is paying off. Yet the seasoned veteran remains silent, carefully weighing the risks of this impossible proposal. The tension peaks as the director bluntly claims the entire plan is destined for failure. Hanrock stands his ground, but the director's rejection cuts through the air like a blade. The veteran executive points a finger, declaring that Hanrock himself is the true problem. Across the empty table, the director admits that Hanrock's talent is simply too dangerous. Turning away, the cold leader acknowledges the brilliance of the revolutionary lecture concept. He decides to commercialize the idea, leaving Hanrock stunned by the sudden power shift. The director envisions a future where their brand finally sheds its shallow corporate reputation. He clenches his fist, determined to dominate the market with this high-stakes gamble. A massive promotion is dangled like bait, promising Hanrock his own team upon success. However, the veteran warns that this impossible workload will require more than one man. Hanrock silently concedes, knowing he has finally found an ally who sees the truth. Hanrock accepts the impossible challenge, relying on his decades of hidden corporate experience. The director reveals he has already secured the rights to a massive re-release project. A chilling tension fills the room as Hanrock demands to see the full lineup. The veteran executive lists the films, but the final choice is a lethal gamble. This last title is a high-stakes risk, capable of destroying anyone who touches it. Hanrock immediately recognizes the project that once ended the director's legendary career. It is a cursed masterpiece that now offers a final shot at professional redemption. Enraged by the sudden audacity, the director suspects he is being toyed with. He accuses Hanrock of weaponizing his greatest failure, just to manipulate the situation. The naive employee he once knew has finally evolved into a cold-blooded player. Hanrock makes his move, staring down the man who holds his future. A mysterious yellow thread pulses with power, signaling a shift in destiny. A chilling smile spreads across the director's face, sensing a kindred spirit. Jungmin Sok admits he only values those with the brains to survive. He encourages Hanrock to aim higher, promising to back his play. But crossing this invisible line changes the corporate landscape forever. As Hanrock leaves, the director realizes his pawn is no longer controllable. The once disposable employee is evolving into a cold-blooded master of the game. Even the most corrupt rivals see the tide turning in Hanrock's favor. Combining genius with influence creates a weapon that could destroy the entire company. Hanrock steels himself for a meeting that could change everything. He enters the quiet conference room to wait for his next target. Success depends on manipulating a director who was bought with cold cash. Hanrock readies his mask to ensure the upcoming rehearsal goes perfectly. A sudden knock at the door marks the start of the gamble. Director Jang arrives with a wide grin, blinded by his own hype. He celebrates the trailer's viral success, as if the victory is already won. Hanrock watches silently, knowing exactly how to exploit the man's ego. They sit down to discuss the strategy for the upcoming public event. The director reveals his plan, unaware he is merely a pawn in Hanrock's game. Jang pitches a mind-bending concept centered around the mystery of parallel universes. Hanrock realizes the plan is far more brilliant than he initially anticipated. With the deadline looming, the director reveals the first half is already scripted. He suggests involving the senior management to witness the project's undeniable potential. As the workday ends, an exhausted executive snaps at an unexpected phone call. He assumes the director is causing trouble again and prepares to hang up. Hanrock calmly baits the trap by mentioning the director's revolutionary new material. Though he was ready to leave, the manager's professional curiosity begins to pique. He demands to know exactly what kind of story could be worth his time. Hearing the concept, the executive abandons his exit, completely hooked by the gamble. The tension in the boardroom is thick as Hanrock lays out his final move. Manager O stares in disbelief, finally recognizing the true genius sitting before him. He scribbles a note confirming that this project is destined to be a masterpiece. A predator and his prey share a smile, though only one knows the truth. The meeting ends with polite formalities, masking the impending destruction of the company. Manager O leans in, wondering if this simple plan is truly enough to win. Director Jang nervously guarantees that the audience will be completely captivated by the work. With only 2 weeks left, the viral buzz begins to consume the entire industry. Hanrock watches in silence, feeling the heavy weight of the lives he is manipulating. Because in the world of marketing, success means crushing everything someone worked for. Director Jang bows low, oblivious that he is merely a pawn in this game. Hanrock offers a respectful salute, hiding the sharp blade of his true intent. They step toward the elevator as the final 2-week countdown begins to tick. He probes his superior's confidence, wondering if the man feels the coming storm. The manager wears a smug grin, convinced that total victory is already within reach. Dusk settles over the city, while the gears of a corporate massacre slowly turn. Even the driver is caught in the hype, dreaming of a record-breaking premiere. A twisted sense of belief keeps the corrupt manager blinded to his own end. Every boast about breaking records only seals their fate in this high-stakes gamble. Hanrock fastens his seatbelt, prepared to watch the entire industry burn in 2 weeks. The final weeks remain until the industry changes forever under the setting sun. A young marketer realizes her career is ending before it even truly began. Her manager screams about the countless calls pouring in from an angry nation. She desperately apologizes for a scandal she didn't realize she was creating. Her role was simple and involved managing the digital presence of a media giant. Everything shattered when a movie about a tragic fire was marketed with greed. Describing a tragedy as a profit opportunity turned the entire public against them. As the company faces a PR nightmare, They prepare to find a scapegoat. But a silent observer knows the girl is innocent of this calculated cruelty. A corrupt superior had forced her to include that line to destroy her. The innocent employee tries to protest, but her senior uses seniority as a weapon. He ruthlessly forced the disastrous plan through despite knowing the inevitable public backlash. Now the coward hides his face while she bears the nation's burning hatred alone. She bows in absolute shame for a mistake that was never her own making. The corrupt executive issues a chilling ultimatum to keep her silent and obedient. Watching from the shadows, Hanrock realizes she is being treated as a disposable tool. This predator hasn't changed, still preying on the weak to protect his own skin. Trapped with no escape, the girl sinks further into the abyss of corporate manipulation. Amidst the cold office silence, an innocent life is sacrificed for a superior's greed. But Hanrock has seen enough, and prepares to dismantle this corrupt hierarchy once again. A father's dying plea to protect the innocent echoes through Hanrock's memories today. Back in the present, the predatory manager waits like a spider in his office. He looks up with cold indifference, demanding an explanation for their sudden intrusion. Hanrock presents the bold new project while Yuseon stands paralyzed by his side. He watches her carefully, noticing the cracks forming in her fragile composure. Overwhelmed by the crushing weight of expectation, she desperately begs for a moment's escape. She retreats into the shadows, seeking the only sanctuary left in this heartless building. The mask of professionalism finally crumbles as she drowns in her own silent tears. Trapped in a stall, she wonders if she is even capable of surviving this life. A cold digital summons arrives, forcing her back into the lion's den once more. The corrupt manager corners his prey, demanding she fix the mess he created. Trembling under his gaze, she realizes there is no escape from this nightmare. But before the predator can strike, a shadow falls over the office floor. Hanrock intervenes with cold authority, claiming her time for a far more urgent matter. Frustrated and sweating, the supervisor backs down, unable to challenge the regressor's momentum. Back at her desk, Hanrock begins dismantling the trap set for his colleague. He leans in, whispering for her to follow him away from prying eyes. They retreat to the quiet sanctuary of the first-floor cafe to plan their move. Setting his laptop aside, he grants her the one thing she needs most: time. Confused by his sudden kindness, she wonders if this man is her true savior. Hanrock offers his colleague 2 hours of peace to finally clear her mind. Overwhelmed by the sudden kindness, she stands there in stunned, silent disbelief. Tears nearly fall as she expresses her deepest gratitude to her unexpected savior. He simply smiles, suggesting that one day he might need her help too. Suddenly, a mystical thread of light begins to pulse with intense, warm energy. She feels a strange presence as the glowing bond wraps tightly around her. Hanrock senses the shift, his sharp eyes narrowing as the connection solidifies. A radiant warmth envelops his wrist, signaling a loyalty stronger than any contract. In that moment, he realizes he has gained a truly unbreakable corporate ally. The glowing thread ties their fates together, ensuring she will always stand by him. Hanrock offers his support to the vulnerable employee, telling her to reach out anytime. With eyes full of admiration, she confesses her deep desire to become like him. Yet, crushing insecurity takes hold as she doubts her own worth to the company. Sensing her pain, Hanrock admits he understands the soul-crushing weight of wanting to quit. A heavy silence falls between them as the reality of corporate life sinks in. He suggests that transferring elsewhere might be a better path for her future. But then he stops, insisting that giving up now would be a tragic mistake. His simple praise for her hard work strikes a chord deep within her heart. Overwhelmed by his kindness, the first tears begin to well in her eyes. She breaks down completely, finally finding the one person who truly believes in her. Hanrock sends the weeping girl away to compose herself before the real work begins. He waits in silence, his mind already calculating the next move in this war. Returning with newfound resolve, she declares her desire to follow in his footsteps. The fear in her eyes has vanished, replaced by a burning, unbreakable determination. In that moment, he realizes he completely underestimated the fire dwelling within her soul. She was never just a clumsy rookie destined to be a simple corporate scapegoat. Her ambition stretches far beyond social media management, or just surviving the day. Now, he sees a partner capable of helping him tear this corrupt empire down. Moving with lethal efficiency, he presents the completed promotional strategy to his superior. Even the cold-hearted manager O is stunned by his impossible speed and precision. He needs a reliable ally who can transform his cold strategy into captivating words. Without hesitation, he demands that the former scapegoat be assigned as his partner. However, his corrupt superior scoffs, insisting he works with a rising corporate star instead. This rival is a genius executive in training who has never tasted a single defeat. Pairing these two would create a power duo destined to dominate the entire industry. Yet he refuses the elite help, claiming he needs a supporter rather than another leader. He challenges the manager, reminding him of the brilliant marketing lines he recently praised. Those words didn't come from a genius, but from the girl they once discarded. Stunned by the truth, the manager realizes he might have overlooked a hidden weapon. With icy resolve, he vows to take full responsibility if his gamble ends in failure. Even the most skeptical executives cannot deny his perfect corporate track record. The corrupt director finally yields, granting permission to use the discarded girl. He turns to walk away, his first major gamble already paying off, but a sudden call stops him in his tracks before he leaves. He is warned to keep a sharp eye on everyone around him. It becomes clear the veteran has noticed his secret team-building efforts. A silent message passes between them to aim for the very top. These hand-picked allies will become the foundation of his future empire. Critics and fans alike are stunned as his project goes viral. While the world celebrates, he prepares for the true battle ahead. Hanrok delivers his work with a speed that leaves his colleagues completely stunned. Granted an early exit, he prepares for the most critical moment of his plan. The theater doors open on the day that will decide his entire future. He waits silently in the lobby to catch the very first audience reactions. In the film world, the public's keen eye can make or break a career. He realizes the fate of his entire project now lies in the public's hands. Every ticking second brings him closer to the ultimate revelation of his success. As viewers emerge, he searches their faces for the sign he needs to see. Total strangers scramble for more tickets as the hype begins to spread like wildfire. With an explosive reaction confirmed, his first major victory is finally within his grasp. The internet explodes as news of the alternate ending sends ticket sales skyrocketing. Online forums are paralyzed by the sheer hype of this unexpected cinematic masterpiece. On every street corner, the public cannot stop whispering about the sudden phenomenon. Skeptics are silenced, as glowing reviews flood every major movie site across the country. For Hanrok, the addictive thrill of a perfectly executed plan never gets old. Even surrounded by corporate vipers and sociopaths, he remains the ultimate puppet master. A message arrives from his allies, desperate to know the scale of their victory. Success tastes sweet as the celebration begins before the workday even ends. He returns to the office not as a subordinate, but as a conquering hero. His team gathers in awe, realizing he just single-handedly resurrected a dead project. Hanrok stares in disbelief as his viral success explodes beyond his wildest calculations. The very colleagues who once despised him now offer warm, deceptive smiles. He realizes that shifting his own destiny has forced everyone around him to change. But he can never forget the performance reviews where these vultures once betrayed him. In his past life, these same people vowed to never work with him again. Now, they treat his return to the office like the arrival of a conquering king. They whisper in awe, acknowledging that Hanrok is the new power in the building. While the team gossips, his corrupt superior is off desperately seeking a corporate lifeline. Deep in the shadows, the man who ruined Hanrok's first life begins to crumble. Consumed by pure hatred, the manager trembles as his carefully built empire finally collapses. Hanrok's success tastes sweet, but bitter rivals whisper that his luck is running out. Shadows loom as the fallen manager prepares a final, desperate strike to reclaim his throne. Chaos erupts in the office while Hanrok coldly observes the cracks in their foundation. Manager O returns with a terrifying calm, masking the venom behind his calculating eyes. Every movement in the office is now a calculated play in this high-stakes corporate war. The predator watches his prey, waiting for a single moment of weakness to strike back. With a chilling smile, the corrupt executive confirms that the real game has only begun. Whispers of robotic perfection fill the air as Hanrok outmaneuvers everyone in the room. A glowing thread of fate binds them together in a meeting that decides their future. One wrong move means total annihilation for both the regressor and his greatest enemy. Hanrok confidently declares that the corrupt leadership's predicted outcome will never come to pass. Manager O stares back with a gaze that hides a mountain of hidden daggers. The executive warns him that acting defiant will only lead to immediate corporate ruin. Suddenly the realization hits Hanrok that the timing of this meeting was no accident. Every word spoken was a calculated move to manipulate the audience's growing viral reaction. Hanrok watches the man known as the strategist weave a web of ultimate influence. A new titan enters the fray, holding the absolute power of a subsidiary CEO. This legend built the very foundation of the industry from the ground up. To reach a level beyond petty politics, Hanrok must seize this man's attention. The predator remains watched as the true endgame of this corporate war begins. Hanrok realizes the path to the top is opening up faster than he imagined. Manager O offers a deceptive smile, promising rewards for a job well done. The corrupt executive walks away, completely unaware that his viral success is a trap. For the first time, Hanrok feels the thrill of the hunt in this corporate war. Outside the TKENM building, the next phase of the plan begins to move. Director Jang returns with the results Hanrock needs to secure his ultimate position. He delivers a crucial script that will determine the fate of the entire company. Gratitude replaces fear as the director bows to his new, silent benefactor. The marketing team is buzzing with excitement as the final scripts are completed. Manager Hyun radiates pure joy, completely unaware of the storm Hanrock is brewing. Manager Hyun can hardly contain his gratitude for the man who saved his career. Every move Hanrock makes feels like a miracle to those riding his coattails. The team prepares to face the ultimate test as the film debut approaches. But before they celebrate, Hanrock stops them with a single commanding gesture. He demands they wait for the cold, hard truth of the opening day numbers. Tension thickens in the office as the group gathers around the glowing screen. Even the corrupt manager O watches closely as the final countdown begins. Director Jang trembles knowing no sci-fi film has ever reached these impossible heights. Hanrock remains unshaken because he already knows the world is about to change. With only 2 minutes left, the air in the room becomes suffocatingly thin. The final minute ticks down as the weight of their future hangs in balance. Initial numbers explode onto the screen as a legendary milestone becomes a reality. Even the cynical manager O is forced to admit this film will break records. A powerful handshake seals a victory that once seemed like an impossible dream. Whispers of history in the making spread through the office like a wildfire. Overwhelmed with gratitude, the director thanks the man who saved his career. Hanrock calmly tells him to share this life-changing moment with his family. Watching him walk away, Yoo-seon feels a wave of unexpected joy and belonging. He reminds her that her hard work was the engine behind this success. A soft smile finally touches her face as she realizes her true worth. The rehearsal concludes as the team gathers to finalize their masterful marketing strategy. A seasoned manager acknowledges that their final presentation was nothing short of perfection. He beams with pride, knowing a massive corporate bonus is finally within reach. They watch the director depart as a once-impossible success story begins to unfold. Returning to the lobby, they find their teammate waiting with news of the director. She expresses her shock at seeing a legendary creator offer such heartfelt gratitude. The manager credits Hanrock for breathing new life into a project that was dead. Hearing she will also be rewarded makes her heart race with newfound hope. Hanrock stands tall, realizing his regression has already rewritten their tragic corporate fate. What was once a career-ending disaster is now a viral sensation breaking the internet. In the past, he was ignored, but now the legendary director offers a handshake. Teammates who once avoided his gaze now share genuine laughter and corporate success. With the film festival approaching, Hanrock clenches his fist, ready for the next phase. A sudden interruption breaks the joy as a cold presence enters the room. Emerging from the shadows is the man who orchestrated Hanrock's original downfall. Manager O arrives, the same monster who once destroyed Manager Hyun's entire career. The villainous executive looks down with arrogance, unaware that the game has changed. Hanrock responds with calculated respect, hiding the burning fire of his cold revenge. Staring into his enemy's eyes, he knows this time the hunter has become the prey. Long ago, the relationship between Hanrock and the serpent-like Manager O seemed stable. But as Hanrock's success grew, the mask of corporate civility began to crack. Rejecting the manager's corrupt invitation marked the beginning of a relentless internal war. At first, O felt like a lesser evil compared to the company's other monsters. Chief Ku was a wild beast, a mad dog who bared his teeth openly. Manager O was different, a silent predator that strangled his victims without a sound. He preferred to tighten the noose slowly, until his prey had no escape. Summoned to a private meeting, the air grows heavy with a new threat. O mentions a name from the past, signaling that the real nightmare is starting. He was the senior mentor who initially guided Hanrock through the corporate maze. Yet this man became the spark that set Hanrock's entire life ablaze. Manager O watches closely, using old wounds to exert his cold, lethal pressure. In the past, his mentor broke under the weight of a rigged promotion failure. That sudden resignation birthed a toxic narrative that stained Hanrock's reputation forever. Trapped in a sea of whispers, his colleagues began treating him like a ghost. The architect of this psychological warfare sits calmly right in front of him. O reveals he manipulated the promotions just to ensure Hanrock remained completely alone. He whispers a chilling threat that no team will ever welcome a traitor. Hanrock finally realizes the dark truth behind the corporate games he once lost. He sees through the manipulative patterns Manager O used to keep him under control. The veteran executive would find a weakness and offer a deal too sweet to refuse. He weaponized the company's most aggressive manager to create a climate of pure fear. By playing the only man who could leash the beast, O secured Hanrock's loyalty. While Hanrock was once branded a liability, he now refuses to accept the blame. O tries to gaslight him again, claiming Hanrock's failures caused his mentor's downfall. But the regressor turns the tables, questioning the manager's suspicious role in the past. The predator is now the prey, as Hanrock rejects the bait for the final time. Hanrock towers over his former boss, shattering the illusion of his supposed failures. The cornered executive hides his growing panic behind a mask of cold corporate procedure. Walking away, Hanrock realizes the corruption runs deeper than even his memories suggested. The board has shifted as a new player enters this dangerous game of shadows. Manager O immediately seeks a new ally to reclaim his crumbling grip on power. He offers a light to the man who might be his final desperate lifeline. But this smiling parasite has his own hidden agenda for the entertainment giant. After 3 months abroad, a dangerous veteran returns to reclaim his place at top. From above, the predators watch Hanrock, unaware the prey has already outmaneuvered them. Whispers of Hanrock's sudden rise to fame begin to echo through the office halls. Manager O watches in silence as his subordinates praise the man he once controlled. Even the highest executives are now bowing their heads in gratitude to the former scapegoat. The rumors of Hanrock's transformation spread like a lethal virus among the corporate elite. To Manager O, his former subordinate's name now tastes like ash and bitter resentment. He realizes the man he broke has returned as someone entirely new and dangerous. In this high-stakes game, a simple pawn has finally started to move on its own. But the corrupt executive refuses to let his most useful tool slip away so easily. He will crush any spark of rebellion to ensure he remains the ultimate grandmaster. The corporate battlefield shifts from cold offices to the bright lights of a grand premiere. Hanrock offers a calm word of encouragement to a man standing on the edge. Behind the scenes, the stage is set for a performance that will change everything. High-level executives watch in awe as the massive hall reaches its absolute capacity. But the weight of expectation begins to crush the director's fragile confidence. Hearing that hundreds of people have gathered is enough to make his heart stop. Hanrock reveals the ultimate trap by announcing the event is being broadcast live. Seeing the massive success, opportunistic vultures scramble to claim credit for the victory. Yet Hanrock knows the truth as ticket sales explode past every previous record. The livestream explodes as the movie becomes the industry's most talked-about sensation. Hanrock watches the chaos unfold while his team identifies a legendary star in attendance. Korea's top actress makes a surprise appearance, proving the hype is undeniably real. She even bought her own ticket just to witness Hanrock's revolutionary marketing firsthand. Famous influencers and industry giants gather, desperate to witness the next big masterpiece. Even the harshest critics are begging for a seat at this sold-out event. Rival executives hide in the shadows, terrified of the power Hanrock now wields. Legendary directors personally congratulate Jang as the film's reputation reaches legendary status. Even the reclusive lead actor emerges, sealing the night as an absolute triumph. The entire film industry has gathered for this legendary corporate reunion. Even the most powerful titans now sit in total silence. Online, the world is exploding as hype reaches a breaking point. But inside the theater, a suffocating tension begins to take hold. Even Hanrock's manager realizes they are witnessing something truly historic. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the crowd, calling for Hanrock. A legendary figure emerges from the shadows to witness the spectacle. Hanrock realizes the man who built Korean cinema is standing before him. Director Choi Kyung-jun has arrived to pass judgment on this masterpiece. Manager Hyun trembles as the legendary meritocrat acknowledges the team's recent viral success. Hanrock remains cold, knowing this man cannot be swayed by anything but results. He bows with perfect composure, introducing himself to the kingmaker of Korean cinema. The director surprises him, admitting he was impressed by Hanrock's previous secret projects. Standing face to face, the industry giant places his expectations squarely on the Regressor's shoulders. With a chilling smile, the veteran legend steps away to let the judgment begin. Manager Hyun is paralyzed with fear, realizing one mistake today means total career destruction. But Hanrock's eyes sharpen, seeing this not as a threat, but a golden opportunity. He calls out to Yuseon, the girl whose future depends entirely on this moment. Handing her the final script, he prepares to unleash a masterpiece that changes everything. Hanrock gives the nervous girl a final task to secure her future. He commands her to introduce herself to the legend as a core team member. From the shadows, the regressor watches his chess piece move into position. She returns with a spark of hope, reporting that the giant now knows her. Even the veteran manager is stunned by Hanrock's tactical brilliance and generosity. Manager Hyun realizes he nearly ignored the very talent that saved their project. Overwhelmed by gratitude, the older executive bows to his subordinate's superior vision. They sit amidst the silence of the theater, the power balance shifting forever. Hanrock's cold calculation is fueled by a rare desire to protect his people. He will do whatever it takes to ensure this talent never fades away again. Manager Hyun offers a warm smile, praising Hanrock for his admirable character. A faint red glow pulses as their connection deepens through unspoken respect. Hanrock realizes his presence is finally beginning to change the hearts of others. Director Jang concludes his emotional speech as the crowd erupts in massive applause. The audience leaves the theater feeling they have experienced a once-in-a-lifetime event. Nearby, the industry's founding father discusses the commercial potential of this new strategy. The elite strategist steps forward to personally address the members of the marketing team. Manager Hyun trembles with anxiety while receiving high praise for his recent absence. Yuseon vows to work harder after being told to learn from her seniors. The strategist turns his gaze to Hanrock, acknowledging his truly outstanding performance. The industry titan challenges Hanrock to step into the blinding spotlight of success. He offers a mysterious document, urging the young strategist to finally prove his worth. Hanrock accepts the weight of these expectations, knowing his every move is being watched. With a chilling smile, the director promises to keep a close eye on him. The note reveals a masterclass in feedback, proving their experimental event was a triumph. A final, piercing gaze confirms that this powerful ally will return for the sequel. Suddenly, Manager Hyun erupts in pure ecstasy, unable to contain his overwhelming joy. The manager's wild celebration stuns the entire office after their impossible victory. While the team watches in disbelief, the reality of their massive success finally sinks in. Now, with the unlimited company card in hand, Hanrock holds the ultimate corporate weapon. The team gathers at a quiet local pub to celebrate their impossible corporate victory. Surrounded by food and drinks, the atmosphere is heavy with newfound success and relief. Manager Hyun beams with pride, crediting their recent streak of luck to Hanrock's leadership. While the higher-ups take notice, Hanrock remains composed despite the mounting pressure of expectations. His colleagues joke about carrying him on their backs after such a legendary performance. The mood reaches a peak as they ask their young leader to offer a toast. They raise their glasses to the future, marking the moment Hanrock finally feels home. The scene shifts back to the cold, sterile reality of the company's main lobby. A panicked assistant frantically warns Hanrock to hide before he is spotted by trouble. The corrupt manager O emerges from the shadows, flanked by a squad of intimidating suits. Hanrock's world stops, as the legendary director Choi Kyung-jun corners him in the lobby. He masks his nerves with a smile, revealing he even secured the elusive company card. His team watches in stunned silence as Hanrock boldly promises an even better performance. The director leaves him with a cryptic challenge that could make or break his career. Every eye in the room weighs the heavy burden now resting on Hanrock's shoulders. If he fails this final test, his dreams of commercializing the project will vanish forever. Seeking to finalize the deal, he presents the daring re-release proposal to Manager O. Hanrock stands his ground, confirming his intent to dominate the industry with this move. But the manager sneers, ordering him to collaborate with a rival he cannot control. Enter Deputy Choi, the company's golden boy, and a dangerous new threat to Hanrock's plans. Hanrock rejects the forced collaboration, confident he can lead the project to success alone. But a sinister dark energy suddenly manifests, signaling a hidden threat he didn't anticipate. He gasps as the suffocating shadows coil around his body like a physical weight. Manager O remains cold and calculating, ruthlessly pushing a subordinate to disrupt Hanrock's plans. A sudden memory of a past warning confirms that this entire meeting is a trap. He realizes the manager wants to steal his project and gift it to the team. Hanrock stands his ground, declaring he will handle the high-stakes re-release entirely by himself. The tension reaches a breaking point as he refuses to yield to the manager's pressure. With eyes burning with fury, he warns his superior that his corporate games are over. Leaning across the desk, Hanrock finally declares war against the man who destroyed him. Manager O sneers, suggesting that Hanrock actually believed everything would go according to plan. The trap tightens as the superior mentions a forced transfer to a failing department. Leaning back, the villain questions how long a weak manager can truly protect him. He warns that in 3 years, the only thing waiting for them is total ruin. A vision of the future shows a broken man struggling to keep his seat. Exactly as predicted, the career of a decent man is packed into a cardboard box. The prestigious Busan Film Festival became the stage for a cold-blooded corporate execution. While others lose everything, Manager O climbs higher by stepping over their fallen bodies. The monster asks if he still believes in the foolish concept of human trust. Hanrock stares back, declaring he only gives his loyalty to those who earn it. The snake sneers at his naivety, claiming he is still too easy to deceive. Walking away, Hanrock places his bets on a partnership that defies the villain's expectations. A cold gaze follows him, waiting for the inevitable moment his trust finally shatters. Back at his desk, the weight of repetitive corporate cycles begins to feel suffocating. He remembers the warning that even the kindest mentors eventually prioritize their own survival. Perhaps the monster was right about the limits of loyalty in this cutthroat world. Metaphorical threads of fate bind his allies together, but some connections are dangerously thin. Manager O looms like a shadow, ready to buy off everyone Hanrock holds dear. The pressure mounts as he desperately searches for a move to checkmate his rival. A sudden message from a powerful director offers one final chance to change everything. Hanrok sits alone, the weight of a perfect but dangerous plan crushing his shoulders. As the clock ticks toward the deadline, the pressure in the office becomes suffocating. Manager Hyun approaches, his forced smile barely hiding the growing desperation in his eyes. Hanrok remains silent, analyzing every word for a weakness he can exploit or fix. The facade finally breaks as Hyun admits he is completely trapped by his own failure. A clash of creative visions threatens to derail everything they have worked to build. Haunted by personal promises, the manager fears losing the only things that truly matter. Hanrok offers a rare moment of mercy, urging his ally to choose family over corporate. Suddenly, a glowing thread of fate binds them together as the hidden truth emerges. This isn't just a film anymore. It is a reality they must now survive together. A new film titled 3 Days promises a journey through the weight of existence. Harsh online critics label it a boring documentary, threatening to bury it before release. Hanrok confronts a desperate creator who expects nothing but a failed, empty theater. The director trembles as the crushing weight of negative reviews destroys his confidence. A lifetime of passion is about to crumble into a pathetic, forgotten memory. High above the city, Hanrok prepares a marketing strategy that breaks every rule. Manager Hyun warns that logic cannot heal a man whose pride is bleeding out. Success depends on one thing: reaching the audience's heart instead of their mind. True honesty becomes the ultimate weapon in a world built on corporate lies. Hanrok listens intently as the final piece of the master plan falls into place. Hanrok's kindness forces a broken man to reveal a secret that could change everything. Director Jang trembles, offering a small gift to the man holding his entire future. Hanrok accepts the gesture, unaware of the crushing desperation hidden behind a simple thanks. This wasn't always his life. He was once just a nameless office worker chasing shadows. A lifelong dream fueled by debt has left him clenching his hands in absolute terror. Hope has vanished, replaced by a cold desire to simply survive the coming financial storm. He stands before Hanrok as a father first, begging for a way to provide. Hanrok listens to the confession before preparing to deliver his own shocking truth. With unwavering eyes, Hanrok declares his genuine love for a film the world rejected. Memories of a sick sister resurface as Hanrok connects through their shared, agonizing pain. Life flows like a river, constantly narrowing and widening through the rocks of hardship. A single tear falls as the weight of those words finally brings long-awaited comfort. Director Jang breaks down, realizing his desperate struggle toward the sea wasn't in vain. A firm handshake seals a new destiny between the regressor and the broken creator. Stepping into the cold night air, Hanrok reaches out to his overworked ally. He gazes at the towering corporate monolith where his brother-in-arms is still trapped. Inside the office, Youngdu frantically works against the clock to meet impossible demands. The 17th floor remains lit, a beacon of the endless grind within TK Entertainment. Even the passing bus carries weary souls home after a day of soul-crushing labor. This masterpiece is dedicated to every person fighting just to survive another day. Walking through the neon city, Hanrok finally admits his true passion for this life. But the cold shadows of his past superior quickly pull him back into reality. Manager O probes for answers, questioning if the secret homework is finally complete. A heavy silence fills the room as the weight of corporate expectations settles in. The deadline is set, leaving only 1 month to secure the project's commercial future. In a shocking move, the executive places Hanrok in charge of the crucial presentation. Despite the obvious trap, Hanrok refuses to show even a single flicker of fear. The order comes from the very top, leaving no room for negotiation or retreat. Accepting the impossible challenge, Hanrok prepares to step into the line of fire. Every calculated step forward brings him closer to exposing the industry's darkest secrets. Manager O issues a final, chilling challenge to test Hanrok's resolve. With a tightened fist, Hanrok accepts the trap disguised as a mission. The corrupt superior leads the way, oblivious to the storm brewing behind him. A sudden inquiry about the satisfaction survey raises the stakes even higher. Hanrok maintains a perfect poker face while confirming his next move. The manager reminds him that failure is not an option for either man. Back at the office, Yuseon reveals a score that shatters all expectations. The team gathers to witness the first signs of a viral miracle. Data proves that the audience is finally reacting to their desperate gamble. Yet, a strange anomaly in the results hints at a deeper mystery. Yuseon questions why a specific data point is suddenly so important to them. Hanrok explains how the audience they captured doesn't even exist on social media. Manager Hyun realizes their success came from a demographic everyone else completely ignored. A deep divide exists between true cinema lovers and the casual internet crowd. The manager praises Hanrok for a marketing strategy that is truly unique. While others rely on gut feelings, Hanrock knows that analysis is the only truth. His perspective is dangerous, seeing through the illusions that blind his corporate enemies. Everything comes down to raw data and understanding what the audience truly craves. The team gathers to examine the raw, subjective feedback from their first major test. These powerful opinions prove that their impossible gamble is finally starting to pay off. Confusion reigns as the audience mistakes their hard work for a rival's success. Hanrock realizes the public only cares about the spectacle, not the brand. His superior's words ring true as the corporate identity vanishes behind the screen. Despite the triumph, a lingering question remains about whether this victory is hollow. The data shows an overwhelming success with scores that should mean total victory. Yet a cold sense of dread begins to tighten its grip on his heart. A sudden interruption shatters the silence of the room as a shadow looms. Manager O enters, the very man who once orchestrated Hanrock's downfall. He demands to see the results while sensing the tension thick in the air. In that moment of confrontation, Hanrock finally realizes the trap hidden within their success. A mysterious document is suddenly thrust forward, demanding immediate and careful attention. Hanrock takes the revision plan, sensing a hidden challenge buried within the pages. The harsh truth reveals that their current success is far too easy to replicate. In this cutthroat market, every original idea is instantly swarmed by cheap copycat projects. If a rival copies their concept, the entire audience will simply vanish overnight. Manager Hyun grows desperate, knowing they need a unique trait no one can steal. The team stands frozen as the weight of this impossible corporate assignment sinks in. One wrong move now could blow their entire operation away in an instant. Director Choi warns that without solving the brand loyalty puzzle, commercialization is dead. Overwhelmed by the pressure, Hyun pleads with Hanrock for a miracle strategy. Hanrock stares down his fate, claiming he can solve the impossible puzzle. The air turns cold as he faces the man who once destroyed him. A brutal 2-week deadline is issued, leaving no room for a single mistake. If he fails, his rival stands ready to seize everything he has built. With a sharp gaze, Hanrock accepts the gamble that could end his career. The corrupt manager retreats, leaving a trail of suffocating tension in the hall. A new player enters the board, observing the meeting with predatory intent. The team scrambles to commercialize a project that was nearly dead. Hanrock calculates every variable, searching for the one lever to move the world. He bets everything on a hidden masterpiece to sway the industry's toughest gatekeeper. Hanrock crafts a desperate plan to save a dying film from digital obscurity. Success means forging an unbreakable bond with the industry's most powerful director. He grips his phone, knowing he must strike before his enemies can react. A weary director arrives, unaware he is walking into a den of vipers. The corrupt manager O watches like a predator, finally spotting its helpless prey. With a serpent smile, the traitor guides his target toward a private trap. Rumors of Hanrock's unusual strategy begin to spread through the cold office halls. O begins his psychological assault, twisting facts to plant seeds of deep doubt. He exploits the director's fear, mocking the tiny reach of a limited theatrical run. The trap is set as O claims Hanrock is intentionally sabotaging their only chance. Manager O offers a false choice, pretending he can still revise the order. He isolates the director, claiming Hanrock is far too talented to fail anyway. Director Jang begins to tremble as the weight of the manipulation sinks in. A predatory grin spreads across the traitor's face as he tightens the noose. O pressures him to speak up if he wants the marketing strategy changed. His cold eyes pierce through the director, demanding a clear, final opinion. The power dynamic shifts as the predator looms over his broken prey. Sweating and defeated, the director realizes he is trapped in a losing game. With a satisfied smirk, the villain knows his psychological trap has finally snapped. The director's spirit breaks, unable to withstand the overwhelming pressure any longer. Director Jang trembles, desperately placing his final faith in Ego, who saved him. Manager O counters with cold logic, dissecting the suspicious depth of Hanrock's knowledge. Overwhelmed by pressure, the director insists that only one person truly understands his art. The predator looms over his broken prey, suffocating him with the weight of authority. Trembling hands betray the director's fear as his last lifeline is cut away. A stuttered acknowledgement falls on deaf ears as the power dynamic shifts irrevocably. Manager O's gaze turns lethal, acknowledging his rival's talent only to destroy it. Silence fills the cold boardroom as the director's will is completely extinguished. He is dismissed like a puppet, forced to follow the villain's twisted script. With a final command, the order is given to dismantle Hanrock's perfect strategy. The director's resolve crumbles as the weight of corporate interrogation begins to take hold. A predator looms over his prey, cold-bloodedly dismissing the man he just finished breaking. He retreats into the shadows, a puppet discarded, after fulfilling the villain's twisted purpose. A final, lethal warning lingers in the air, demanding absolute submission to the corruption. Suddenly, a desperate signal cuts through the night, carrying the scent of an impending disaster. Hanrock answers the call, unaware that his perfect strategy is already being dismantled. The mention of his former superior's name turns the evening's calm into freezing dread. Panic spreads as they realize the corrupt manager is sabotaging the project's critical release. A sharp realization flashes in Hanrock's eyes as the battle lines are finally drawn. Alone in the cold city, the broken director reveals the true extent of the trap. Hanrock receives a cryptic warning, realizing the director has finally chosen a side. A broken man offers his last blessing, sensing the storm approaching the assistant manager. In this ruthless industry, being a good person is often a fatal weakness. Hanrock declares that a line has been crossed, signaling the start of the counteroffensive. The path splits as every pawn is forced to choose between two warring masters. Youngdu freezes in terror, caught in the middle of a high-stakes corporate execution. Hanrock's gaze turns lethal, offering his team one final chance to survive the fallout. Behind closed doors, the shadows of the past gather to discuss their rising threat. Panic spreads among the corrupt as they struggle to contain Hanrock's sudden dominance. Manager O prepares his next move, determined to erase the man who shouldn't exist. A trembling Manager Hyun realizes the man he once controlled has become a monster. Manager O's predatory eyes narrow, issuing a lethal warning to stay away from Hanrock. The ultimatum is delivered: obey the shadows, or be destroyed by your own corruption. Cornered and broken, the manager drinks to hide the terror of his forced submission. The veteran executive watches with dark satisfaction as his pupil masters the corporate game. A rolling cup marks the end of patience as O claims Hanrock as his. With a violent crash, he vows to annihilate anyone who dares touch his property. Elsewhere, Yuseon identifies the digital weapons needed to launch their next major offensive. Hanrock rejects the obvious path, hunting for an ordinary face to manipulate public perception. Every move is calculated to ensure the masses see themselves within his grand design. Hanrock searches for a hidden talent, unaware the answer sits right before him. He recognizes a writer who truly understands the heart of the audience. A shocking revelation surfaces as his own assistant admits to being the mastermind. She downplays her brilliance, treating her greatest gift as a mere hobby. Hanrock sees a diamond in the rough being wasted on trivial topics. He challenges her to remember that true influence comes from authentic passion. The spark of realization ignites as she accepts the mission to change everything. Strategic pieces fall into place while he plans to bypass the corrupt influencer market. The hunt begins for a marketing genius who truly lives for the cinema. Hanrock's calculation is complete as his new secret weapon steps into the light. Hanrock questions the progress of their latest project while his assistant prepares a surprise. A viral storm erupts as the world discovers the handsome executive behind the scenes. Public praise from a saved director turns the spotlight directly onto the strategic mastermind. Online communities explode with rumors about the man who transformed a failing production overnight. His manager jokingly suggests a career change as their sudden fame reaches critical mass. Amidst the celebration, his secret weapon approaches with a bold new request for him. The conversation shifts toward the remnants of a former employee's discarded marketing strategies. They decide to weaponize his new public image through a series of tactical interviews. Though the unwanted attention is stifling, Hanrock sacrifices his privacy for the mission's success. With newfound pride, she begins crafting the narrative that will solidify their corporate dominance. Hanrock realizes his secret weapon is the perfect candidate to lead his next move. With the strategy set, she departs to prepare for the coming media storm. Suddenly, the man who ruined his past life blocks his path with icy words. The corrupt manager reveals the next battlefield, a high-stakes screening at the Cine House. A sinister comment about a viral photo proves the enemy is watching every move. Back in the safety of the office, the team celebrates their trailer's massive success. But the momentum must continue, shifting the focus toward long-term brand loyalty and power. Hanrock proposes a radical gamble, turning a regular employee into a corporate superstar influencer. By removing celebrity distractions, he intends to force the public to see the truth. His manager wonders who could possibly handle the pressure of such a public execution. Hanrock lays out the strict requirements for the face of their next campaign. A hesitant hand rises as the team realizes the weight of the task ahead. Yuseon asks the unthinkable, suggesting Hanrock himself should be the one to lead. The next morning at TKENM, the results of their risky test finally arrive. Every option is a gamble designed to measure the public's true favorability and interest. The team huddles around the screen, breathless as the data begins to reveal itself. The crowd has spoken, and the demand for the mysterious, handsome employee is overwhelming. With record-breaking engagement, the public is practically begging for Hanrock to take the stage. After nearly a decade in the shadows, Hanrock feels a sudden, unfamiliar surge of pressure. To win this war, the master strategist must finally step into the blinding spotlight. Manager Hyun officially nominates Hanrok to face the department's most intimidating leader. Director Young waits with a cold gaze, ready to dismantle the entire operation. The project hangs by a thread, as the director threatens to scrap everything. Hanrok tries to deflect, but no one understands the industry better than him. The director probes deeper, questioning if Hanrok's own arrogance is holding him back. Hanrok remains silent while being branded as a man with a toxic personality. Yet, raw talent and results are the only reasons he still has a seat. A mysterious aura begins to manifest, revealing the weight of his hidden determination. He finally realizes that true success requires balancing cold strategy with human connections. The director issues a final challenge, demanding to see his hunger for total victory. Hanrok silences the room with a gaze that demands no further explanation. A massive corporate merger looms as TK prepares to absorb its own broadcasting subsidiary. High-level executives scramble for power while new leadership positions are dangled, like bait. President Ha Young-yeop sits at the head, inviting his sharks to speak. The board members immediately strike back, claiming the project will destroy their image. Manager Oh masks his true intent, pretending to value the opinions of his peers. Suddenly, a violent slam against the table shatters the thin veil of professional courtesy. Moon Oh-suk launches a direct attack, questioning the logic behind such a rush. He demands more time for refinement, but the 2-week deadline remains unshakable. The corporate war turns personal, as the order to stop ends the verbal assault. Hanrok lays down the law, demanding absolute perfection or total cancellation of the project. The countdown begins as the 2-week deadline for the massive presentation is officially set. Tension fills the room as the lower-level executives realize their careers are on the line. Hanrok accepts the challenge, deciding to confront the board members on their own turf. The stakes have never been higher, with the president himself now watching every move. Moon prepares his final counterattack, determined to crush Hanrok in front of the leadership. Behind closed doors, a secret plot emerges to hijack the upcoming project presentation. Manager Oh moves his pawns, replacing Hanrok to ensure total control of the narrative. The entire division's future rests on this deception, as the corrupt leadership tightens its grip. Gazing over the city, the villain mourns the missed chance to watch Hanrok fail. High above the city, 2 powerful executives plot their next move in the shadows. Manager Oh questions if his subordinate truly trusts the genius regressor, Lee Hanrok. He acknowledges Hanrok's groundbreaking methods for securing absolute brand loyalty within the company. Cold sweat drips down Director Jung's face as he realizes he is being watched. The corrupt manager admits that Hanrok's record-breaking success is simply too massive to ignore. He praises Jung's capability but hints at a much darker purpose behind his words. The atmosphere turns suffocating as Oh asks if Hanrok should keep this golden opportunity. Giving a presentation to the president could cement Hanrok's position at the very top. Jung wonders if his superior has suddenly developed a heart for his hard-working subordinates. With a chilling gaze, the villain reveals this move is solely for his own benefit. Manager Oh realizes Hanrok is outgrowing his reach and becoming a monster. He schemes to use the young talent to elevate his own status. The corrupt superior manipulates Director Young by praising his growth within the company. Now, it is time to put Hanrok's legendary skills to the ultimate test. Director Jung bows in fear, knowing his future depends on a single word. Jung realizes his place on the corporate hit list depends entirely on Hanrok. Tension explodes when Hanrok learns the president will personally witness his next move. High-stakes rehearsals begin as the industry's founding father watches every single breath. A cold challenge is issued, daring the young strategist to face the pressure. With unshakable resolve, Hanrok steps forward to claim his destiny in the corporate war. A cold warning echoes as the director questions the weight of such overwhelming confidence. Hanrok stands tall, forced to justify his right to lead the high-stakes presentation. Despite the suffocating pressure, he declares that nobody understands this project better than him. The skeptical executive stares him down, searching for a single crack in his resolve. The oppressive silence shatters when the superior finally offers a word of cold praise. A calculated warning follows, ensuring that every move from now on is being watched. The fated day arrives, and whispers of the president's arrival flood the corporate halls. Walking side by side with his superior, the young strategist prepares for the ultimate trial. The heavy doors of the executive floor swing open to reveal a blinding light. High above the city, the absolute authority of the company waits to judge him. Hanrok introduces himself. Knowing the weight of the moment is finally here, he stands before a sea of hungry sharks waiting for him to fail. Invisible thorns begin to wrap around his feet, threatening to pull him down. The crushing pressure of the room manifests as dark threads of absolute malice. Every executive in the room is a predator looking for a single weakness. His corrupt, former superior watches with a gaze meant to shatter his soul. Instead of trembling, Hanrock flashes a smile that catches them completely off guard. He decides to skip the formalities and strike directly at the company's core. Laying out the cold reality, he exposes the flaws they all tried to hide. The atmosphere shifts as his words begin to dismantle their predetermined judgment. The room falls silent as the powerful executives lean forward in sudden anticipation. Hanrock commands the floor, proving his strategy has captured their undivided attention. Just as he discusses the budget, a skeptical hand rises to halt him. Moon Oh-sok sneers, demanding to know who could possibly represent the brand. Without a hint of hesitation, Hanrock declares that he will be the face. He reveals staggering data proving his viral influence has already eclipsed the stars. Standing before the board, he claims the title of the company's most recognized asset. Moon grits his teeth, desperately searching for a way to shatter his credibility. The air turns cold as Hanrock prepares to dismantle his rival's failing legacy. Panic sets in as he exposes the secret rot within the music division's revenue. He exposes the rot, showing how the music division destroyed its own fanbase. Even the home shopping division is crumbling under the weight of his brutal analysis. Silence falls over the boardroom as he stands alone as the undisputed master. Director Jung admits his excellence, but warns that the project has one fatal flaw. Without his personal influence, the entire foundation of the plan would simply vanish. Manager Oh sneers, questioning if the project dies the moment he steps away. With a confident smile, he reveals the next phase of his grand design. He presents his loyal team as the future faces of the company's brand. By cultivating these successors, he promises to build an unstoppable empire of executives. The director is left speechless, realizing he is witnessing the birth of a legend. Director Jung ends the session, his aura manifesting as a lethal crimson thread. This invisible pressure coils around Hanrock, signaling the start of a dangerous game. As the board adjourns, the Titan demands an immediate audience with his top executive. Hanrock realizes this man operates on a level far beyond any ordinary corporate shark. The stakes rise as they discuss the upcoming festival and the marketing's true intent. The presentation ends, but the lingering gaze of his enemies remains sharp and cold. A new player watches from the shadows, sensing a shift in the company's foundation. Fear masks itself as anger as the music division head feels his control slipping. Within the rising elevator, the hidden tremors in his hands betray his calm facade. Even for a regressor, facing the company's true power is a soul-crushing experience. Hanrock observes the glowing yellow thread of fate binding his superior. Despite the cold words, the shimmering light of success only grows brighter. Knowing the outcome before it happens, Hanrock struggles to hide his smirk. His loyal team rushes forward, their faces beaming with newfound hope. Word of the division head's approval spreads like wildfire through the office. But the real shock comes when the president himself takes notice. Jealousy and praise collide, as the marketing team celebrates their impossible victory. Even the most cynical executives are forced to admit his absolute brilliance. A reward is offered, but for Hanrock, money is just a tool. Now, he stands before the true Titan, the man who controls everything. The president questions the timeline of a promotion that defies all corporate logic. Director Jung confirms the marketing department is now under a new, terrifying influence. Even the highest authority admits that gambling on an assistant manager was brilliant. In an unprecedented move, the president orders the project budget to be tripled. Hanrock is now ordered to prioritize this project above everything else in existence. Director Jung realizes this man's talent has already far surpassed his own scope. A sinister smirk escapes as the executive acknowledges the terrifying growth of his subordinate. Weeks pass as the gears of the entertainment industry grind toward a climax. The assistant is paralyzed with shock as their project reaches the Busan Film Festival. Director Jung confirms the impossible victory as the budget is officially tripled. The president's absolute command sends shockwaves through the entire corporate ladder. Manager O trembles as a new power structure threatens his corrupt reign. Meanwhile, those forgotten by the system finally see a glimmer of hope. The atmosphere thickens as Hanrock stares down his former superior's crumbling authority. A massive shift is coming, and everyone in the room can feel it. Director Jung pulls the young prodigy aside for a private, high-stakes conversation. Behind closed doors, the true architecture of the future begins to take shape. Hanrock is granted the ultimate power to handpick his own elite squad. He immediately names the outcasts, shocking the seasoned director with his choices. This isn't about comfort, it's about building a team that can change everything. Director Jung tries to force a corrupt snake into Hanrock's new elite team. Little does he know, Hanrock has already marked that man for total destruction. The director demands loyalty, warning that choosing the wrong side means professional death. Hanrock doesn't flinch, reminding the veteran exactly who built this winning strategy. He questions if a traitor could ever provide the same value as his allies. Coldly, the regressor demands the freedom to choose his own path to the top. A heavy silence falls as the director realizes he can no longer control him. The stakes shift toward the executive floor where the true corporate monsters dwell. Blinded by ambition, the director vows to ascend, unaware of the coming storm. A new power line is forming, and Hanrock is the one pulling every string. Hanrock's piercing gaze locks onto the veteran director, signaling a lethal shift in power. The executive seeks a bridge to maintain control over the shifting corporate landscape, but Hanrock knows the current power players belong to a dying era. With absolute coldness, he declares he will forge a path entirely his own. He rejects the old guard's hierarchy, leaving the veteran with no leverage left. The director realizes he has fatally underestimated the young man's hidden political genius. Beneath a calm facade, the executive's hands tremble as his intentions are stripped bare. Looking across the sprawling skyline, he sees Hanrock already conquering the future. The veteran wonders just how far this monster's vision truly extends. Now the master becomes the follower, desperately hoping to survive Hanrock's new order. Coworkers who once ignored him now desperately try to buy his favor with gifts. Word spreads that Hanrock alone holds the keys to the company's next massive hit. Every employee watches in silence as the office power dynamic shifts toward him. Behind the scenes, his secret weapon confirms the public is finally taking the bait. High-quality reviews flood the internet, begging for a release that does not exist yet. Demand reaches a fever pitch once fans realize the masterpiece is currently unreachable. Hanrock exploits human psychology by transforming his project into a forbidden luxury. He orders his team to stay silent, letting the hunger for the film grow. By weaponizing intellectual vanity, he prepares to launch an unprecedented marketing war. As the trap is set, the regressor turns to face his next corporate victim. Manager O commands the regressor to follow him into the lion's den. Inside the office, the corrupt executive demands to know the status of the team. He claims the department manager handed over total control to Hanrock. Hanrock remains cold, telling his superior that his worries are entirely misplaced. The tension breaks as O slams a hidden document onto the table. It is a transfer notice designed to exile a key ally to a distant branch. Hanrock questions if the target actually agreed to this career-ending move. Manager O reveals his plan to dismantle Hanrock's support system from within. Unfazed, the regressor reminds him that only one person here understands the industry. With a lethal gaze, he warns the executive to stop sending him useless dead weight. Manager O reveals his deep-rooted history within the company's darkest shadows. He was personally handpicked by the high-ranking division head many years ago. The executive scoffs, claiming Hanrock isn't the only one with powerful connections. He boasts about surviving corporate horrors that would make any normal man shudder. Then comes the ultimate challenge of loyalty between a veteran and a rookie. A pen clatters to the floor, acting as a spark for total humiliation. The superior demands that Hanrock bow down and retrieve the fallen object. A heavy silence fills the room as the regressor weighs his next move. Instead of submitting, he ruthlessly crushes the symbol of the manager's authority. With absolute certainty, Hanrock declares that the director will ultimately choose him. The corrupt manager seethes, demanding to know why a mere rookie expects the director's favor. Hanrock calmly retorts that real leaders despise those who hide behind a superior's name. Enraged, the veteran executive reminds Hanrock of the countless careers he has already destroyed. He begins a chilling count, tallying every subordinate he has ruthlessly exiled from the industry. With a venomous glare, he names Hanrock as the 9th victim on his hit list. Then he adds a 10th, threatening to take down Hanrock's allies along with him. He arrogantly describes how easily he can manipulate the upcoming film festival to his advantage. The manager scoffs, claiming that erasing Hanrock from the company is a trivial task. He drops a pen, ordering the regressor to bow down and retrieve it like a dog. Instead of submitting, Hanrock delivers a cold message by ruthlessly kicking the manager's authority aside. Manager O watches the pen roll, a desperate attempt to assert his crumbling dominance. Hanrock remains unshakable, warning his former boss that these old tricks are now useless. The department's mad dog enters the room, sweating under the weight of the heavy atmosphere. Silencing his subordinate with a venomous shout, the executive refuses to accept another failure. He forces his loyal servant to kneel, demanding he fetch the pen like a dog. Suddenly, a heavy boot crushes the pen, signaling Hanrock's total rejection of corporate tyranny. Trembling with rage, the director scolds his men for failing to stop a single man. He shifts his target, ordering an immediate takeover of Hanrock's most precious project. The next pawn realizes with horror that no one around Hanrock will be spared. With eyes burning with malice, the villain prepares to end this corporate war forever. The company's former mad dog trembles as he is ordered to self-destruct. A secret opportunity at the Busan Film Festival becomes the next corporate battlefield. Hanrock holds the ultimate leverage, a crystal-clear recording of his enemy's betrayal. Forewarned by an ally, He prepares for the inevitable strike from his corrupt superior. He knows the isolation tactics well, but he won't reveal his hand just yet. With every piece finally in place, the regressor walks toward his destined confrontation. The time has finally come to repay every ounce of suffering he endured. Days later, whispers of Hanrock's bold moves begin to spread through the office. Despite the prestige, the list of applicants for the new project remains suspiciously short. Hanrock's sharp eyes narrow as he realizes the shadow of sabotage is looming. Director Jung warns that Hanrock's ambitious plan might leave him fighting entirely alone. Undeterred, Hanrock demands an immediate audience with the powerful division head. The director remains silent, feeling the immense pressure behind the young man's eyes. With a subtle nod, he agrees to help, sensing Hanrock's hidden potential. Alone at his desk, the regressor knows his master plan is finally moving. He reaches out to manager Hyun, initiating the next phase of his strategy. Over lunch, rumors of a shocking new job application begin to stir trouble. Veteran managers sit in disbelief, debating the sudden shift in department dynamics. The tension rises as they realize the old hierarchy is beginning to crumble. They are stunned that a subordinate is now the one choosing his superiors. Veteran managers scoff at the audacity of a subordinate, claiming the lead role. Bitter resentment boils as years of loyalty are eclipsed by a newcomer's rise. Over a tense meal, they dissect the moves of the man shaking their foundation. Vicious rumors begin to poison the air, threatening to dismantle a burgeoning career. The old guard stands stunned by the shifting tides of corporate power and ambition. Hanrock remains perfectly composed while the weight of false accusations lands on him. He masks his master plan behind a facade of humble and simple intentions. Suspicion turns toward the shadows as they hunt for the source of the lies. A hidden enemy is finally unmasked, revealing a calculated strike against the regressor. In the face of betrayal, the crushing weight of corporate politics becomes undeniable. Manager O plots his next move while feigning concern for the junior staff members. Behind closed doors, a rare and private confrontation begins to take shape. Hanrock sits across from his enemy, refusing to engage in meaningless corporate pleasantries. The veteran manipulator demands to know the true purpose behind this unexpected request. With a steady gaze, Hanrock proposes a restructure that threatens the existing power balance. The air grows heavy as they debate the hidden costs of every strategic decision. Within the walls of TKENM, the timing of this change remains dangerously critical. A temporary truce is struck, yet the question of the team's loyalty lingers. Silence fills the room as Hanrock weighs the risk of trusting a known traitor. A predatory glint flashes behind glasses as the true source of conflict is named. Hanrock questions if the corporate hierarchy truly expects him to collaborate with his enemy. A condescending smile spreads across the veteran's face as he mocks the young regressor. The executive reveals his hand by granting full project control to the corrupt rival. Hanrock searches for logic behind this sudden betrayal of his team's successful track record. Cold eyes stare back as the boss admits to playing favorites without any remorse. In this ruthless corporate world, fairness is nothing more than a childish fantasy. He argues that elite leaders must dominate the ordinary, regardless of the moral cost. Leaning forward like a predator, he dismisses the lives ruined by his selfish decisions. A subtle shift in Hanrock's expression signals that the psychological warfare has just begun. With unwavering resolve, he demands the same special treatment to fuel his own agenda. The executive ponders Hanrock's demand for a unique and privileged status within the company. His gaze sharpens as he questions if a mere title can satisfy Hanrock's hunger. A crimson thread slithers across the floor, testing the weight of the young man's resolve. He seals the deal with a promise to keep their dangerous conversation hidden from everyone. Standing tall, the veteran power player admits he finds Hanrock's ambition truly impressive. Leaning in close, he whispers that these harsh lessons are meant to prepare his successor. With the negotiation finished, he reaches for the door to invite the next player in. The door opens to reveal the corrupt manager waiting like a vulture for his turn. Hanrock walks away, knowing he is trapped in a deadly game of calculated choices. His rival stares back with cold eyes, ready to reclaim the power he once held. Hanrock plays the perfect professional, while masking the cold ambition burning within him. A sudden delivery confirms that the next phase of his plan is finally underway. He knows the stakes are rising, and one wrong move could end everything. The division head tests his resolve, forcing a choice that will redefine the company. Tensions rise as the predator and prey finally meet in the silent corporate halls. With a single sentence, the superior grants Hanrock the ultimate power to decide. He stares down his corrupt former superior, rendering the man's old tricks completely powerless. His assistant watches the screen with bated breath as the deadline rapidly approaches. Even the veteran director begins to crack under the immense pressure of the moment. Every second feels like an eternity while they wait for the world to react. The marketing gamble begins as the re-release announcement finally hits the digital world. Success arrives instantly as every single theater seat sells out across the city. High-level executives gather to announce the critical new team leader assignments. One manager stands frozen in shock as his name is finally called out. Pure joy erupts as he celebrates a promotion that felt like a distant dream. Amidst the celebration, a predator's cold gaze remains fixed on the young strategist. Secret messages are exchanged to arrange a private meeting far from prying eyes. The corporate headquarters looms large as the time for a final conclusion arrives. Waiting on the rooftop, the regressor prepares to extract the truth he needs. The silence breaks as the man who orchestrated everything finally steps into view. The confrontation begins as the regressor issues a final, daring ultimatum on the rooftop. With a flick of a lighter, he reveals he has already bypassed his superior's authority. The tension snaps as a discarded cigarette falls, signaling the end of their professional ties. Fury twists the old man's face as he promises a devastating price for this betrayal. Unfazed by the threats, Hanrock calmly sips his drink while the world burns around him. He looks his enemy in the eye, declaring that no one can touch him now. The corrupt executive retreats, vowing to make an innocent man suffer for Hanrock's defiance. Suddenly, a panicked manager bursts through the doors, desperate for answers about the chaos. With a chillingly calm expression, the strategist admits he is simply choosing his own allies. Now, he must convince the high-level executives that this coup was someone else's idea. Director Zhang reaches his breaking point as the weight of corporate warfare finally crushes him. The trap is set and the announcement that will change everything is finally ready. Hanrock remains cold and calculated, knowing his plan has already taken root. A terrified Director Zhang begs for a warning before the next bombshell drops. But the strategist reveals a hidden recording that proves there is no turning back. Fear paralyzes the director as the voice of a monster echoes from the device. Hanrock exposes the corrupt manager's plan to make everyone pay a lethal price. Reality hits home as the director realizes he is already an accomplice in this war. His hands tremble with the realization that he is far too deep to escape. Desperate for a quiet life, he tries to run from a battle already won. Hanrock draws a line in the sand, choosing his manager over a corrupt tyrant. A bitter truth surfaces as the manager explains why his career remains stuck. Paralyzed by fear, he admits that protecting his family is his only priority. The strategist watches in silence, already calculating the exact moment to strike. A single piercing question shatters the manager's resolve, forcing him to face reality. Hanrock demands to know if he is truly willing to let his enemies win. He paints a vision of glory, promising a path to the world's biggest stages. With a cold, confident smile, he asks if the thrill of victory is enough. 1 week later, the curtain rises on a gamble that could change everything. Desperate crowds swarm the theater as ticket prices surge to impossible new heights. Director Zhang trembles, fearing his creation cannot match the hype of the marketing. Hanrock grips his shoulders, promising that today they witness the birth of a masterpiece. The team leader watches the exchange, paralyzed by the immense weight of the moment. The screening begins, projecting a story of lives intertwined across different generations. Deep in the dark theater, the director is haunted by ghosts of his youth. He remembers a time when he was a poet, before corporate greed took hold. Sweat pours as he realizes the film has laid his entire soul bare. The credits roll into a deafening silence that feels like a sudden death sentence. Crushed by the weight of failure, he weeps for his family and lost dreams. Suddenly, the silence shatters as 300 people rise in a thunderous standing ovation. The audience leaves the theater, praising the masterpiece that almost never saw the light. Overwhelmed with emotion, the director realizes his dream has finally become a reality. He clutches the hand of his savior, weeping with a gratitude words cannot express. A new fire ignites within him as he begs to work together once again. Outside the corporate headquarters, a hidden father balances his duty with a loving home. Success brings a rare smile as he promises his family a better future tonight. Hearing his daughter call him a hero pierces through his hardened, corporate exterior. Despite the victory, the crushing weight of reality forces a bitter confession of weakness. He admits that his excuses were merely a shield against his own paralyzing fear. Trapped between terror and inspiration, he desperately asks for a way to be brave. Hanrock pushes the trembling manager to stop hiding behind his own failures. He offers a simple pack of gum as a catalyst for a total transformation. The broken man realizes it is time to become the hero his daughter deserves. Standing before the glowing city lights, he reflects on the man he used to be. The image of Hanrock's encouraging smile burns brightly in his mind's eye. He whispers a silent vow to himself that he can finally change his fate. A determined smile replaces his exhaustion as he embraces his new purpose. He breaks into a desperate run, leaving his cowardice in the shadows behind him. Every step up the stairs is fueled by the dreams of his younger self. Hanrock turns to find a man finally ready to lead with pride and honor. He sprints through the shadows, desperate to reclaim the honor he once lost. A simple charm on his wrist serves as a silent promise to his daughter. Within the cold office walls, the next phase of the corporate war begins. Hanrock identifies a vital talent currently trapped under the enemy's oppressive thumb. Securing this recruit is the only way to ensure their team's ultimate victory. However, moving against a corrupt executive's loyalist is a gamble with lethal stakes. Stepping up with newfound courage, Manager Hyun vows to bring the recruit over personally. He corners the target in the office, demanding a favor that defies corporate logic. The tension snaps as the conversation turns into a loud and violent verbal clash. Hanrock realizes the situation has spiraled from a simple recruitment into total chaos. A crucial text message arrives, confirming that the high-stakes recruitment gamble has begun. The clock ticks forward, marking the final moments before the grand plan unfolds. Manager Hyun reveals the successful contract with a triumphant and incredibly confident smile. The target officially confirms their participation, shifting the balance of power in an instant. Hyun admits the earlier public conflict was actually a calculated piece of strategic theater. Corrupt leadership made it impossible for the recruit to join without a valid excuse. Manager Hyun staged a loud confrontation to provide the perfect cover for the transfer. He understands that true opportunities only belong to those willing to risk everything. Hanrock realizes the recruit was simply waiting for someone to push him forward. Looking at his transformed ally, Hanrock sees a man who finally knows victory. Leaving the corporate battlefield behind, Hanrock heads into Seoul for a vital personal mission. He finally reunites with Han Seo, the sister he sacrificed everything to protect. Gone are the days of struggle as he reveals his brand new luxury car. Stunned by the sudden wealth, she worries if his success is truly legitimate. With a confident smile, he reveals the massive bonus earned from his ruthless strategies. Inside the car, the comfort of wealth marks a turning point in their lives. She captures the moment, eager to show the world her brother's incredible transformation. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, Hanrock finally feels a sense of peace. Their victory goes viral, proving that his regression is changing their destiny forever. The ultimate reward arrives with the news of her complete and total medical recovery. Sharing a simple meal with his sister is a victory money could never buy. She playfully offers to pay for dinner, finally enjoying a life free from sickness. Her bright smile proves that changing the past was his most successful gamble yet. He warns her not to get ahead of herself as their true journey begins. Leaving the warmth of family behind, he returns to the cold world of strategy. The Busan Film Festival looms ahead as the ultimate proving ground for his vision. The target is 10 million viewers, a number that would cement his legendary status. Inside the corporate hive, a new specialized team is assembled for the coming war. A silent wink confirms that the internal power shift is moving exactly as planned. Everything rests on a legendary project destined to become the nation's greatest cinematic masterpiece. Hanrock recalls a future where his ally is ruthlessly purged by a corrupt superior. He confronts Manager Hyun to stop the tragedy before the trap is even set. With cold eyes, he declares that the time for their counterattack has finally arrived. The manager hesitates, fearing that a direct confrontation will lead to certain professional ruin. Hanrock explains that victory means crushing the enemy's project with an even greater masterpiece. Seeing a chance for a true revolution, the manager finally commits to the gamble. Hanrock rejects the safe choices, revealing he has a secret weapon in mind instead. The name of a disgraced director leaves the veteran manager completely speechless and shaken. He warns that betting on such a controversial film is a path to destruction. Ignoring the panic, Hanrock prepares to reveal the true scale of his dangerous ambition. Standing in the empty office, Hanrock secures a desperate ally for his high-stakes gamble. Overwhelmed by Hanrock's intense pressure, the manager realizes there is no turning back now. The division head questions why a mere subordinate is bypassing the chain of command. Hanrock executes a bold strategy to sideline his rivals and seize total project control. They identify the executive's hidden weakness, knowing one wrong move means instant professional death. The veteran manager provides the final pieces of the puzzle to trap their corporate enemies. Even with a perfect plan, the risk of skipping direct superiors weighs heavily on them. Summoned to the inner sanctum, Hanrock faces the cold gaze of the ultimate gatekeeper. The power dynamic shifts as the executive demands to know Hanrock's true choice. The division head scoffs at the impossible 3-day deadline Hanrock has set. He questions if Hanrock understands the immense effort his rivals have invested. Even if this project fails, Hanrock's rising career is safe from immediate ruin. The mention of his vulnerable teammates makes Hanrock's steady hand twitch with tension. The executive reminds him that his subordinates have no safety net if they fail. Facing the ultimate pressure, he is asked if his suicidal resolve remains unchanged. With unwavering eyes, Hanrock declares that failure is simply not an option. Hanrock suddenly pivots the conversation, asking the executive if he has seen the sea. A mysterious smile forms as the veteran executive recalls the beauty of the abyss. Hanrock seizes the moment, demanding a chance to explain his radical strategy. He argues that their chosen film is the perfect match for the festival atmosphere. The plan revolves around a moonlit screening right as the sun finally sets. To immerse the audience, he wants them to feel the sand between their toes. Removing all barriers allows the salt air and crashing waves to complete the experience. The executive watches closely as Hanrock connects the ocean to a deeper beauty. He reveals that the night sea is a vessel for everyone's most precious memories. With this emotional anchor, Hanrock guarantees that their success is now inevitable. Even the hardened veteran is forced to admit that Hanrock is truly extraordinary. Hanrock reveals a side of himself that no one ever expected to see. The executive realizes this young man is far more dangerous than the rumors suggested. He humbly credits his recent success to the guidance of a loyal manager. This unexpected praise brings back memories of a man who truly supports him. With a sincere smile, he reaffirms his belief in his mentor's noble character. As the meeting concludes, the young strategist calmly takes his leave. Alone in his massive office, the weight of their conversation begins to settle. He questions why a lowly manager should even matter in this corporate war. Yet the conviction in the boy's eyes makes his words impossible to ignore. For the first time, the master of manipulation admits he just got schooled. A sudden confrontation erupts as a senior manager starts hurling accusations at his subordinate. The young strategist stands firm even as an intimidating executive watches their every move. This cold-blooded superior demands to know why his specific orders were completely ignored. Instead of folding, the boy calmly explains that higher authorities approved the current plan. But this intense conflict is nothing more than a calculated performance to deceive enemies. The loyal manager puts on the show of a lifetime to protect his protégé. To sell the lie, the regressor humbles himself and accepts the fake public scolding. Caught off guard by their apparent submission, the frustrated executive finally retreats in silence. Once the coast is clear, the two conspirators share a secret signal of victory. With the corporate threat neutralized, they turn their focus toward a prestigious film festival. Hanrock initiates a high-stakes marketing plan to secure the necessary data. The odds are stacked against them, making a top-3 finish look impossible. He remains unfazed, pinpointing exactly how to manipulate the target audience. His assistant realizes the brilliance of the move, spotting a hidden advantage. She is stunned by his expertise as he commands the entire project. But this bold strategy is a direct challenge to his lethal superior. Failure here means the total collapse of everything they have built. With a chillingly calm expression, he guarantees their absolute success. Swayed by his conviction, she chooses to follow him into the fire. By that evening, the decisive battle for public opinion finally begins. The project sits in dead last with only 30% of the vote. Desperate fans scramble to save the film as the clock ticks down. High above the city, a legendary director watches the digital chaos unfold. He remembers the debt he owes the man who saved his career. Panic erupts in the office as Hanrock's name echoes through the halls. In an impossible reversal, the underdog movie suddenly surges into first place. After 9 p.m., a massive wave of support floods the voting servers. One single post from a master has changed the entire industry's landscape. Hanrock answers the call, knowing his gamble has finally paid off. The director joins the fight, securing their dominance over the corrupt competition. Hanrock accepts the director's gratitude, knowing their bond is now unbreakable. A secret alliance forms between two men who were once destined for failure. Director Jang feels a surge of pride, ready to unleash his latest masterpiece. The creator basks in the thrill of making something truly legendary. Suddenly, a high-stakes announcement regarding the Busan Film Festival rattles the office. A sudden vacancy in the screening schedule triggers a dark memory for Hanrock. The executive issues a special order that mirrors a tragedy from the previous timeline. History begins to repeat itself as familiar names resurface in the digital shadows. The stage is set for a rematch between two rivals whose fates are intertwined. In the past, this moment led to ruin, but now Hanrock controls the game. The corrupt manager explodes in rage as his carefully crafted scheme begins to crumble. He desperately searches for a scapegoat, while the innocent workers face the coming storm. Manager Hyun decides to sacrifice his career to protect the team from further corporate backstabbing. Hanrock realizes the true depth of the bribery and vows to end this corruption. Meanwhile, director Jang receives the life-changing news that his masterpiece has finally been recognized. Tears of joy flow as the once-forgotten creator sees his dream of Busan becoming reality. Hanrock remains calm while assuring his ally that he will handle the corporate fallout. A powerful new bond forms as the director pledges his absolute loyalty to the strategist. A simple gesture of gratitude marks the beginning of a shift in the industry's power. Now the stage is set to launch the next phase of their high-stakes cultural revolution. The meeting begins as Hanrock anticipates the corrupt chief's next predictable move. He remembers a predator who won't hesitate to crush anyone standing in his way. Yet a bold new strategy forms behind the young strategist's piercing blue eyes. Exposing the deep-rooted bribery requires completing the impossible within just 3 days. He counts his hidden allies and recordings, preparing for the gamble of a lifetime. The enemy's grip on the industry depends on a director he refuses to lose. Manager Hyun feels the pressure mounting as the stakes reach a terrifying peak. A grim warning is issued to the team regarding the danger they now face. The strategist smirks, realizing this crisis is actually their greatest opportunity for power. By producing a masterpiece, they will steal the spotlight and dismantle the old guard. Hanrock asks his team to trust him as they prepare for the ultimate gamble. Their faces betray a heavy mix of paralyzing fear and desperate new hope. A shadowy figure scoffs at the plan, calling the entire rebellion foolish. He officially declares war, vowing to dismantle the corrupt leadership once and for all. Hanrock meets a key director who will eventually serve as his ultimate witness. He tracks down every client who suffered under the weight of the company's greed. He pushes his team to find the one mistake hidden within the stolen contracts. His assistant discovers a massive anomaly that exposes the company's past crimes. Hanrock realizes that suspicion alone won't be enough to secure a victory. He reaches out to the director who will finally expose the truth. Success is sweet, but finding a witness is the only way to win this war. A mysterious call reveals the industry is buzzing with news of a sudden cancellation. Hanrock senses the stench of corporate bribery hiding behind these abrupt changes. One name emerges from the shadows of the schedule change that could change everything. This man was a mere pawn destined to vanish from the company in a year. Realizing the connection, Hanrock knows exactly who he needs to corner next. His trusted assistant digs through the intranet to find the truth behind the paper trail. The digital evidence screams of power abuse and contracts that should never have existed. Corrupt leaders used a sacrificial lamb to keep their own hands perfectly clean. Now the final results are in, and the real game is about to begin. Manager O is finally making his move just as predicted in the previous timeline. Hanrock knows the corrupt executive will soon manipulate the film project's recent failure. To counter the scheme, Hanrock coordinates with his team to expose the truth. A secret digital exchange reveals the vital contact information needed to corner their target. The investigation leads deep into the quiet shadows of a deserted prop storage room. Hanrock prepares his recorder to capture the definitive proof of corporate sabotage. He initiates a high-stakes call regarding the upcoming International Film Festival selection. On the other end, a panicked director realizes their entire career is in jeopardy. The trap is sprung as Hanrock demands the name of the internal traitor. While his team remains unsuspecting, Hanrock prepares to dismantle the web of lies. Hanrock uncovers the truth about a failed director hiding in plain sight. The man on the phone is the key to the entire corporate conspiracy. A desperate career is about to be crushed by the weight of corruption. In the original timeline, this man vanished after a crushing wave of guilt. Hanrock clutches his recorder as his own name is whispered in the shadows. He wonders if using these dirty tactics makes him no better than his enemies. Haunted by memories of his family and betrayal, he chooses a different path. Stepping out from the darkness, Hanrock finally confronts the trembling traitor. Every step forward echoes with the impending collapse of a carefully crafted lie. The trap is closed as Hanrock reveals he knows every secret they discussed. Assistant Manager Yu is just an ordinary man trapped between fear and his conscience. Hanrock reveals the calculated sabotage meant to crush their hard-earned success at the festival. He gambles everything on the hope that this ordinary man will finally speak the truth. But the cost of justice is a price the terrified manager is afraid to pay. Hanrock warns that the corruption will only grow until it consumes their entire future. Paralyzed by sweat and dread, the witness lacks the courage to face the coming storm. Even the legendary strategist admits his own fear, while pushing for one final stand. He delivers a brutal ultimatum to choose between a moment of bravery or eternal regret. Word of Hanrock's rebellion reaches the ears of those hiding in the corporate shadows. Manager O refuses to stay silent as his empire begins to crumble from within. Assistant Manager Yu stands trembling as the weight of a dark command settles in. Manager O demands absolute loyalty if the nervous employee wants to keep his career. The order is clear. Infiltrate a production plant and steal a highly sensitive document. When the witness hesitates, O threatens to unleash the audit office and destroy him. Paralyzed by dread, the young man's hands shake as the trap begins to close. The corrupt executive silences every protest with a cold and ruthless command for silence. He is ordered to manufacture evidence and pin the entire disaster on Hanrock. Even the threat of ruining a prestigious film festival cannot stop this corporate monster. To Manager O, the destruction of others is merely a necessary price for power. Little does the villain know, every incriminating word is being recorded in the shadows. A secret recording seals a pact that will shatter the corporate hierarchy forever. Hanrock stares down the witness who holds the power to destroy his enemies. The crushing weight of betrayal causes the young manager to tremble in terror. He accepts his fate, knowing this victory will cost him his entire career. Despite the risk, he realizes that some things are worth more than money. Hanrock listens as the man confesses the heavy toll of serving corrupt monsters. A rare moment of peace washes over him after finally choosing the truth. The regressor questions why a victim would feel gratitude toward a corrupt pawn. The trap is set, and the final decision rests solely on one man's shoulders. But in this cruel corporate game, is the pawn the only one to blame? In a cold world where truth is punished, the corporate tower hides monsters. But one man chooses a path without regret, finally finding his own courage. Hanrock vows to reach the top without losing his soul to the corruption. A secret late-night call breaks the silence as the final pieces move. Director Lee trembles, caught between career-ending threats and a thin hope. The regressor promises to handle the storm, his voice steady against the pressure. Fear still lingers in the shadows, questioning if justice is truly possible now. With a cold gaze, he declares that this long nightmare is finally ending. The evidence is ready, but a premature strike could ruin everything he built. He waits for the perfect moment to burn the corrupt leadership to ash. The fuse is lit to escalate the corporate war against the corrupt leadership. With the secret recording secured, the trap is finally set for Section Chief O. 1 week later, the battlefield shifts to the sun-drenched shores of Busan. A new player emerges, a prestigious marketing star favored by the company chairman. The elite task force gathers to prepare for the upcoming International Film Festival. Hanrock remains composed, knowing his every move is being watched by rivals. The newcomer notes that Hanrock hasn't changed, hiding his true intentions behind a smile. Together, they scout the location where the grand stage will soon rise. Calculating the perfect layout, the regressor visualizes a masterpiece that will stun the audience. He aims to capture the magic of the sunset, turning a simple screening into legend. Hanrock calculates the precise moment the sun will vanish over the Busan horizon. The elite newcomer immediately catches onto the regressor's hidden masterpiece of a plan. Manager Hyun struggles to keep pace with the high-stakes demands of the upcoming festival. With a single phone call, the schedule shifts to accommodate Hanrock's perfect vision. This level of corporate efficiency proves that Hanrock has finally met a dangerous equal. Even seasoned veterans stand frozen, witnessing the overwhelming power of true industry elites. As the manager retreats to handle logistics, the real psychological battle begins. Standing before the vast ocean, the newcomer reveals he has been watching Hanrock's ascent. Beneath that friendly smile lies a predatory instinct that sets the regressor on edge. A dark memory from the previous timeline resurfaces, warning of a coming betrayal. Hanrock praises his loyal manager while the corporate elite listens with hidden contempt. Beneath that polished exterior, a cold elitism views kindness as a fatal weakness. To a predator like Choi, an honest worker is just an unmotivated obstacle. Hanrock's gaze sharpens, daring the arrogant elite to repeat those words out loud. The tension spikes as Choi admits he only speaks his mind to equals. Standing his ground, the regressor defends his ally against this blatant corporate disrespect. A chilling warning follows, telling the newcomer to watch his tongue very carefully. Despite the masked smile, the elite finally feels the weight of Hanrock's pressure. The scene shifts as the heavy office air is replaced by a quiet bar. Hanrock sits with the loyal manager, hearing about the family he fights for. Hanrock finds comfort in a loyal ally who reminds him of the father he lost. He clenches his fist, vowing to shield his team even if his plan falls apart. Manager Hyun knows the devastating price of whistleblowing against the corrupt corporate giants. He reaches out, refusing to let Hanrock carry this heavy burden all by himself. They aren't just following orders, they are united in stopping a monster like Manager O. With a confident smile, the veteran manager bets everything on Hanrock's eventual victory. Hanrock knows this is the only path, doing what is right regardless of the cost. Suddenly, a painful memory of his father warns him about the dangers of being honest. Looking at his mentor, Hanrock realizes that some men are truly worthy of respect. High above the quiet streets, they prepare for the report that could change their lives. With his team behind him, the fear of failure finally begins to fade. Morning arrives at TK Entertainment, bringing a storm that no one saw coming. Manager O strikes first, demanding answers about a contract designed to fail. Chaos erupts as the production company claims they were never told the truth. From across the room, Hanrock watches his ally play the role of a lifetime. The mastermind behind the sabotage hides his malice behind a mask of corporate authority. Surrounded by enemies, the young strategist prepares to trigger his ultimate trap. Picking up the phone, he confronts the very people meant to destroy his career. He acts with total shamelessness, manipulating the narrative to corner the corrupt executive. The legal battle intensifies as hidden clauses threaten to tear the entire company apart. The web of lies begins to unravel as the contract dispute reaches a boiling point. Hanrock refuses to back down, shifting the blame back onto his corrupt partners. Manager O attempts to silence him, unaware that he's walking into a lethal trap. Tension fills the office as the young strategist continues his high-stakes call. The villainous executive smirks, believing he has finally crushed Hanrock's latest project. But the regressor isn't finished, demanding one final chance to speak the truth. With calculated precision, he begins reciting the exact details of their secret meeting. His cold gaze reveals a man who has planned for every possible betrayal. Fear finally strikes the hearts of the men who thought they were untouchable. The ultimate evidence is revealed, a recording that will dismantle their entire empire. Hanrock corners the president over the phone, demanding the truth about the screening document. The pressure is suffocating as he forces the man to repeat his previous lies. Manager O begins to crumble, his sweat-soaked face betraying his rapidly mounting terror. The regressor's voice turns cold, mocking the pathetic excuse of a simple mistake. He slams his hand down, refusing to let the corrupt executive escape his judgment. Even his allies try to intervene, but Hanrock's fury is now completely unstoppable. This isn't just a business dispute. It's a reckoning for anyone threatening his company. He listens to the desperate apologies, his expression revealing a predator watching his prey. The entire office watches in silence as the hierarchy is shattered by one man. Manager O realizes too late that he has invited a monster into his world. Hanrock tightens his grip, demanding a final answer from the desperate man on the line. He towers over his trembling prey, his cold gaze piercing through Manager O's pathetic lies. The regressor scoffs at the president's frantic apologies, refusing to let the corruption slide. Manager O can only sweat in silence as his past sins finally catch up to him. A desperate plea for mercy arrives, warning that internal war will destroy the entire company. Standing firm, Hanrock realizes the rot within TK Entertainment goes deeper than he first imagined. He ends the call with a chilling promise to enforce the company's strictest internal regulations. A heavy silence falls over the marketing department as the power dynamic shifts forever. The office staff watches in awe, terrified by the sheer ruthlessness of Hanrock's tactical execution. Choi Kyung-jun praises Hanrock's performance, solidifying his rising position within the corporate hierarchy. The clock strikes 1, signaling a brief moment of peace after the corporate storm. Hanrock maintains his cool composure, declining a casual lunch to stay on the hunt. A sudden summons from the department manager shifts the trajectory of the entire afternoon. Despite a calculated apology, the regressor vows to strike down corruption again if necessary. He stands tall before his superior, refusing to retreat from his chosen righteous path. Hanrock demands to know exactly how the company plans to handle his incriminating evidence. High above, Executive Choi Kyung-jun calculates the true power of the secret recording. The atmosphere turns frigid as the manager gives the shocking order to bury everything. Hanrock stares in disbelief, questioning why his ally would protect a corrupt monster. The crushing realization hits that his trusted mentor was complicit in the darkness all along. The fragile thread of loyalty between the regressor and his superior finally snaps. His mentor reveals a cold heart, viewing every subordinate as a mere disposable tool. The manager warns that the corruption goes too high for one man to stop. Hanrock refuses to listen to pathetic excuses for protecting a monster's dark secrets. A final ultimatum is issued as trust dissolves into a bitter, irreparable rivalry. If the guilty won't resign, then Hanrock will force them out of the company. He vows that every single person involved in this filth will lose everything. Leaving his mentor behind, he demands a choice between justice and total ruin. Meanwhile, the shadows of the past begin to gather behind closed executive doors. The true architect of the scandal prepares his next move from the corporate heights. Manager O sweats as the executive promises to overlook his massive corporate failure. A choice is demanded between following the old guard or siding with Hanrock. The executive questions if a low-level manager truly believed he could win. Hanrock stays calm at his desk, revealing he already contacted the division head. He explains the massive risks taken to ensure this specific outcome for everyone. The executive admits that Hanrock is the only person truly worth saving. Papers fly through the air as the facade of professional order finally snaps. The real crime is getting caught by a rookie in this high-stakes game. A terrified manager is forced to grovel and retrieve the evidence of failure. On his knees, he is branded incompetent and faces a brutal professional death. The arrogant manager realizes his career is over after being outplayed by a mere rookie. His superior coldly declares that loyalty ends the moment a more talented replacement is found. Desperate and broken, he is only spared to ensure the upcoming film festival succeeds. This final project becomes his trial ground, a last chance to survive the corporate slaughter. To cover the tracks, he must now sacrifice a subordinate and sever his own influence. The division head silences his excuses, using his own cruel words against him with venom. Trembling with fear, the manager wonders exactly how much of his corruption has been exposed. Stripped of rank and dignity, he is ordered to summon the man who destroyed him. Back at his desk, Hanrok suppresses a violent urge to finally end this pathetic snake. The fallen executive delivers the summons while Hanrok prepares to play the long game. Hanrok passes his former superior, the power dynamic finally shifting in his favor. He whispers a chilling warning that this corporate war is far from over. A sudden outburst of rage shatters the silence as the manager loses control. Standing alone in the shadows, he realizes his reign of terror has ended. Now, Hanrok faces the true puppet master pulling the strings of the company. The senior executive offers rare praise, acknowledging Hanrok's massive contribution to the firm. Despite the accolades, Hanrok remains cautious, sensing the hidden fangs behind the smile. He masks his true intentions with modesty while navigating the executive's dangerous offer. The predator smiles, knowing exactly when to discard a pawn that has outlived utility. A dangerous deal is struck, giving Hanrok a powerful weapon for his ultimate goal. Hanrok visualizes a cinematic masterpiece that will finally cement his absolute dominance. The executive watches with a knowing smile, sensing the young man's rising potential. He decides to play the long game, holding back his favors for later. The executive questions his ambition, wondering how high he truly intends to climb. With a cold and steady gaze, Hanrok admits he wants to reach the top. They discuss the heavy burden of responsibility in a company built on corruption. He remains silent and focused, absorbing the weight of the executive's dangerous expectations. The upcoming film festival is declared the ultimate turning point for their entire department. The puppet master makes a chilling promise to support only the final winner. Leaving the office, Hanrok encounters his predecessor, now broken and covered in blood. Hanrok walks past his former superior, ignoring the desperate cries for his attention. A bloodied and broken manager vows to crush him for this ultimate betrayal. Without a single word of acknowledgement, Hanrok reaches out to seal the elevator. Through the narrowing gap, his icy blue eyes signal that the hunt has begun. Across the office, another veteran manager frantically packs his life into a cardboard box. The executive delivers a ruthless ultimatum, banishing the man to a distant provincial branch. The humiliated manager screams that they are all fools for trusting a mere rookie. Unmoved by the outburst, the senior executive demands respect for the new corporate order. With one final soul-crushing command, the last remnant of the old guard is silenced. The entire office watches in silence as a 15-year career ends in total disgrace. Gu Cheolbaeom grips his belongings as his professional life literally falls apart. He desperately calls for help, but his former subordinates only offer cold silence. A young assistant offers a new box, trying to maintain a shred of dignity. The fallen manager sneers, refusing help from someone he deems a lowly worker. He mocks her loyalty to Hanrok, claiming they will both be fired soon. She stands her ground, realizing his pathetic anger is just a desperate mask. Nearby, a rival manager tries to lighten the heavy atmosphere with a bet. Hanrok shuts him down instantly, his icy gaze focused only on the mission. Sensing the shift in power, the rival retreats, his playful confidence completely shattered. The next morning, a suffocating tension fills the room as rival teams collide. The disgraced manager arrives, his presence a dark cloud over the entire office. Hanrok stares him down, demanding to know if the old fox has something to say. A wave of pure terror washes over the staff as the confrontation turns lethal. Sneers, warning Hanrok that his previous luck has finally run out here. His hands tremble with rage as he reveals the chairman is finally arriving. The room freezes as Ha Young-yup enters, backed by a dangerous executive. The silence breaks when he announces a Hollywood master is coming to judge them. Hanrok realizes this is the golden opportunity he needs to win it all. The stakes are clear: satisfy the chairman's expectations or face total professional ruin. Later, the team celebrates the news, unaware of the corporate war brewing nearby. Hanrok plots his next move, knowing he must secure the Hollywood master's presence. An unexpected guest interrupts his meal, reminding him of the isolation in this fight. The division head appears with a cold smile, ready to test Hanrok's true ambitions. The atmosphere shifts as Hanrok stands his ground to deliver a bold request. A wave of mocking laughter fills the room at the mention of the master. Undaunted, Hanrok demands a direct line to the man sitting at the very top. The executive play acts humility, claiming his influence over the chairman has strict limits. Fear ripples through the staff as the impossibility of changing the schedule becomes clear. Sharp eyes narrow behind glass, searching for the hidden motive behind such reckless confidence. But Hanrok holds the ultimate card, forcing the executive to honor a forgotten promise. Choi realizes Hanrok is calling in a massive favor to secure his future. The executive feels a genuine chill from Hanrok's unnervingly calm and calculated gaze. They discuss a legendary filmmaker who would surely appreciate a raw, gritty documentary. Only Hanrock knows that in the original timeline, this film became a masterpiece. The division head questions if the chairman will truly trust a subordinate's intuition. He warns that if a rival steals the master, Hanrock's career is over. But Hanrock remains completely unfazed, knowing exactly how the board will eventually pivot. With absolute certainty, he declares that the chairman will have no other choice. The executive finally yields, acknowledging that Hanrock is far too dangerous to ignore. Meanwhile, in Busan, a powerful official prepares to receive word of the meeting. Hanrock confronts the division head, ready to pivot his high-stakes corporate gamble. He criticizes the weak competition, demanding a complete overhaul of next year's leadership. The executive listens in stunned silence as a new director's film enters the spotlight. Hanrock watches with cold anticipation, eager to see his calculated chaos unfold. The name Lee Hanrock carries a weight that the chairman cannot easily forget. A bold new proposal is tabled to push their legendary guest beyond the competition. High above the city, the power balance shifts as old agreements are torn apart. With a piercing gaze, Hanrock forces the chairman to make a definitive choice. The executive realizes there are no programs worthy of their target's immense talent. Time is running out, as the company's finest prepare for a brutal internal war. The president hesitates as the chairman questions him about Hanrock's previous performance. Manager O watches with a twisted grin, enjoying the chaos within the room. A cold reminder surfaces that a leader must always prioritize logic over sentiment. With a subtle smirk, the president admits that the situation has become interesting. A sudden alert confirms the chairman will personally oversee the final competitive presentation. Drowning in anxiety, Manager Hyun begs Hanrock to take over the crucial task. Hanrock stares at his phone, confident that he will never face defeat again. Tension fills the air as the day of the high-stakes presentation finally arrives. Walking toward the conference hall, Hanrock prepares to execute his final master plan. Manager O calls out to Hanrock, his eyes burning with a desperate fury. Hanrock ignores his fallen rival and prepares to unleash his final marketing gambit. Despite the overwhelming pressure, he steps into the elevator with absolute, chilling confidence. The high-stakes presentation begins as the company's most powerful figures gather in silence. Suddenly, the executive disrupts the planned schedule, forcing an immediate shift in strategy. He seizes total control of the room, dictating exactly how this battle will unfold. His colleagues tremble with fear, knowing their entire futures depend on pleasing the chairman. A rival star marketer takes the stage, flaunting his prestige to overshadow the competition. The pressure intensifies as the judge demands the presentation continue in a foreign tongue. No one can match the sheer talent of this elite opponent in the marketing field. One by one, the teams present their work, but the real war is just beginning. Manager O sets the stage, announcing the final battle for corporate supremacy. He lays out a perfect strategy, backed by overwhelming data from global markets. His elite protege finishes a flawless presentation that guarantees absolute corporate success. With a cold glare, the veteran manager calls out his rival to step forward. He mocks the regressor, daring him to win with only 3 days of preparation. Hanrock takes the stage with his loyal assistant, ready to flip the board. He begins a presentation that intentionally avoids the typical aggressive corporate tactics. The elite star marketer watches in confusion, wondering if his rival has simply surrendered. His former allies tremble, terrified that this weak opening is a sign of defeat. But beneath the calm exterior, a predator's smile reveals the trap is already set. Hanrock discards the standard script, leaving his rivals wondering if they've been tricked again. A quiet conversation reveals his assistant is curious about his legendary, undefeated presentation streak. She desperately wants to know how he manages to win every single time. With a piercing gaze, he declares he will do whatever it takes to win. Back in the boardroom, he orders the lights on, ditching the traditional digital presentation. He boldly claims the director's visit has nothing to do with fame or quality. The atmosphere shifts as he forces the powerful executives to confront a different reality. He singles out the division head, pressuring the veteran leader for his own opinion. The executive finally realizes Hanrock is masterfully playing everyone like a seasoned grandmaster. Success depends entirely on whether they can satisfy the director's hidden, personal desires. Hanrock knows most presenters fail by relying on scripts instead of genuine human connection. His assistant watches in silence as he prepares to shatter the standard corporate strategy. He discards the useless data, focusing entirely on the legendary director's secret personal desires. The senior executive tests his resolve, wondering if this young man can truly deliver. A prestigious rival steps forward, attempting to undermine Hanrock's bold and unconventional claims. With a predatory gaze, Hanrock demands evidence to back up their shallow marketing research. The rival's confidence evaporates as Hanrock exposes a fatal flaw in their entire presentation. He effortlessly shifts his focus, proving he understands the competition better than they do. Hanrock delivers the final blow, revealing a truth that makes their efforts completely meaningless. The veteran leadership trembles, realizing they are being played by a true corporate monster. Hanrock knows that in this corporate viper's nest, mercy is a fatal mistake. He prepares his assistant for a battle where simply being good isn't enough. Their objective is clear. They aren't just here to win, they're here to destroy. Manager O glares back with the arrogance of a man who thinks he's untouchable. But Hanrock towers over him, exposing the fatal flaws in his opponent's desperate data. The atmosphere thickens as the weight of his regressors' knowledge begins to crush them. Panic finally sets in for the corrupt veteran as his last line of defense crumbles. Hanrock seizes the floor, ready to unleash a presentation that will change everything. His assistant stands firm, holding the key to a truth they never saw coming. Even the senior executives realize they are witnessing the rise of a corporate monster. Hanrock's assistant trembles, realizing she must now stand before the company's highest power. She reflects on a past of uncertainty, remembering her days as a lost soul. Leaving everything behind, she found refuge in a quiet town filled with endless cinema. Hanrock listens as she reveals how a simple obsession caught the eye of Hollywood. The corrupt veterans watch in silence, unaware of the secret history about to break. Those 3 years by the ocean weren't a waste, they were her ultimate weapon. A cold smile creeps across his face as the master plan finally falls into place. The boardroom becomes a battlefield where one mistake means total professional execution. Panic grips the opposition as they fail to see the link between C and success. Now, the lowly contract worker prepares to deliver a blow that will topple giants. Hanrock gives his final approval, letting his secret weapon finally take the stage. He remembers the promise made to the girl everyone else had simply discarded. Now, she stands tall, proving that her time in obscurity was never wasted. The corrupt veterans tremble as they realize the true power of his hidden team. Every discarded talent he gathered has become a lethal blade against the old guard. Together, they issue a silent challenge to the giants who once ruled this world. A stunned executive realizes he hasn't just trained an employee, but a monster. Even the coldest manipulators must admit that this new force is truly impeccable. The boardroom falls silent as the perfect team prepares to seize total control. Now, the high-ranking officials wonder if this successor can survive the coming war. The young assistant trembles as the chairman questions her place in the company, but Hanrock stands by her side, signaling that her life is forever changed. He faces the executive board with a confidence that defies his lowly rank. The corrupt veterans are forced to bow, their pride shattered by his brilliance. With a cold gaze, he promises that this is only the beginning. Silence consumes the room as the old guard realizes they have no defense. Manager O shakes in terror, recognizing a monster he can never hope to defeat. As the team departs, the atmosphere in the office has shifted entirely. Even the company's star marketers can't help but admire his legendary performance. Now, the highest powers demand to know why the natural order was destroyed. He strategically timed his move to ensure no one could follow his brilliance. Even the corrupt veterans were forced to admit he controlled the entire room. The chairman realizes he finally met someone who understands his hidden greed. Behind those calm eyes lies a man who sees every corporate secret. A sinister smile confirms that the game of shadows has only just begun. They both know that only the most terrifying monsters survive this industry. Fresh talent is being scouted to replace the rot within the company. The legends of yesterday are now being discarded like useless trash. He declares that the era of the old guard has reached its end. A new generation stands ready to seize control of their own destiny. With the film festival looming, the marketing team grinds through another sleepless night. Suddenly, a high-ranking star marketer interrupts their frantic preparations with an unexpected visit. The stressed manager tries to dismiss him, but Choi only wants one specific man. Despite the mounting pressure and exhaustion, the persistent intruder refuses to take no for an answer. A mysterious thread of goodwill begins to shimmer, revealing a hidden connection between them. Hanrock senses the supernatural pull, realizing this conversation is far more than corporate small talk. He decides to follow, knowing that in this game, every secret is a deadly weapon. Under the cold night sky, Choi tests his target with talk of shallow luxury, but Hanrock isn't interested in status symbols, demanding the man reveal his true intentions. The trap is set when Choi mentions a corrupt superior's sudden, suspicious display of wealth. Hanrock knows that luxury watches are the ultimate currency for untraceable corporate bribes. His target stares back, demanding to know where Hanrock's true loyalty lies. Crushing a cigarette marks the end of silence regarding the manager's illegal connections. The corruption surfaced months ago when a suspicious order changed the entire game. Hanrock watched the corrupt executive flaunt new luxury cars and pens with arrogance. Years of being silenced by corrupt superiors once forced the young witness to surrender. Now, the whistleblower questions why Hanrock is suddenly risking everything to help him. the cold truth remains hidden behind Han Rok's mysterious focus on TK planning. Reporting the scandal is merely a weapon used to cripple the entertainment giant. If the corruption bursts, the path for a total corporate takeover finally opens. Choi observes that Han Rok has finally stopped pretending to be an ignorant bystander. While plotting to destroy Manager O, Han Rok realizes Choi is a dangerous wildcard. Choi claims that removing their corrupt superior won't jeopardize the upcoming corporate merger. He warns that a hidden secret exists, which only Han Rok has failed to see. The ultimatum is delivered. If this plan fails, Han Rok will lose everything first. Han Rok's unwavering resolve begins to unsettle the man trying to manipulate him. Choi declares he would much rather work with Han Rok than their current boss. With a deceptive smile, he admits his goal is keeping Han Rok in the company. Under the cover of night, the conspiracy shifts toward the department's upper management. A powerful executive questions whether Han Rok is truly a man who can be trusted. A desperate warning echoes through the line as Han Rok begins his final corporate purge. Manager O realizes his time is up unless he can find a new ally. He frantically claims that Han Rok is no longer just a mere corporate rival. On the other end, a powerful executive listens in silence to the growing panic. The disgraced manager begs for help, trying to drag everyone into his sinking ship. He warns that Han Rok is a monster who cannot be understood or reasoned with. The question remains if anyone in this company can actually survive Han Rok's wrath. As the line goes dead, the weight of the coming storm finally settles in. Deep down, he already knows that standing against Han Rok is a death sentence. Because for Han Rok, there is no room for excuses or mercy in this timeline. A veteran manager reflects on the rigid path that brought him to the top. He wonders if he can truly risk everything to side with a man like Han Rok. Behind closed doors, a phone call begins that will shift the balance of power. He exposes a secret plot designed to drag Han Rok into the depths of ruin. To him, Han Rok is playing a game that is far too dangerous to win. He warns that making an enemy of Manager O was a fatal strategic error. Yet, he admits he isn't ready to see Han Rok's meteoric rise end just yet. Despite the risks, he decides he will no longer stand with the corrupt opposition. A rare moment of respect slips through as he chooses a new, uncertain alliance. With the warning delivered, Han Rok prepares for the final battle at the film festival. Jung calls to confirm if the trap for Manager O is ready. Han Rok counters with a smirk, demanding a dangerous new alliance instead. Public outrage explodes online as accusations of blatant plagiarism go viral. The audition board bleeds red as top contenders are suddenly disqualified. A desperate apology confirms that Yu Seong's talent was stolen for profit. She begs him to stay silent while the industry watchdogs circle. The illicit track defies the scandal, surging to the top of charts. Guilt and pressure begin to break Yu Seong's composure under the spotlight. Even through the humor, the bitter taste of betrayal cannot be hidden. With the finals suspended, the corporate war reaches a breaking point. Inside the corporate heights, the CEO orders a hunt for the traitorous informant. He demands total protection for the artist, while the legal team scrambles for answers. Terrified staff members flee the office, desperate to outrun the impending disaster. Beneath the moonlight, a desperate plea to cancel the release goes completely unanswered. The fallen star confronts his father, begging to erase the lies and start over. But the cold patriarch remains silent, his eyes reflecting a lifetime of ruthless ambition. A sickening realization washes over the boy as he finally sees the truth. He demands to know if his own father orchestrated this nightmare from the beginning. Suddenly, a public statement fabricates a new reality to save the family's reputation. Trapped in a web of lies, the young idol finally shatters under the pressure. That night, Moo-jae makes a desperate proposal that could change everything forever. Startled by the sudden offer, Si-hyun questions if he is actually being serious. Morning arrives at JM Entertainment as the corporate machine prepares its next move. Inside the boardroom, the team confirms that every legal trace has been erased. The director coldly suggests using the public's outrage to farm even more views. With millions watching the music video, they believe the scandal will soon fade. But Si-hyun suddenly snaps, insulting the executive's blatant greed to his face. She mocks his arrogance, asking if he views the entire public as mere pigs. Standing her ground, she warns the CEO that silence will only invite total disaster. The CEO realizes that nothing enrages the world more than a calculated corporate lie. The CEO coldly reminds his associate that they won't suffer the upcoming fallout. Si-hyun watches in disgust as the executives prepare to sacrifice the artist's dreams. Tension peaks in the boardroom as the director fights to keep the scandal profitable. Challenged to provide an alternative, Si-hyun steps forward with a dangerous new plan. She proposes a televised showdown that puts their fabricated idol's talent to the test. The director recoils in terror, fearing their corporate web of lies is about to break. Ignoring the old man's pleas, the CEO grants her the floor to continue her gamble. A predatory smile crosses her lips as she prepares to flip the entire industry. Later, the terrified idol questions if she has truly lost her mind with this plan. Unfazed by his fear, she vows to see this ruthless game through to the end. Mujay stands before his manager, finally ready to reclaim his stolen identity. His eyes burn with a new fire, desperate to prove his worth to everyone. A cold smile spreads across her face as she promises him the perfect stage. The risk is absolute, but she demands the company admit their massive deception immediately. The CEO remains skeptical, yet she promises to feed the public's insatiable craving for drama. Footage of his raw performance begins to circulate, sparking a wildfire of online praise. Every single verse was his alone, proving the talent behind the synthesized mask was real. The line between the fabricated idol and the hidden singer begins to blur dangerously. She leans forward with predatory grace, knowing the public is already hooked on the truth. With all parties finally in agreement, she waits for the CEO's final, fateful decision. The CEO remains silent, as his desperate subordinates beg him to stop this madness. Ignoring the warnings, he stands before the world to offer a shocking public apology. He declares a brutal winner-take-all battle to reveal the song's true, rightful owner. The fabricated idol and the hidden genius finally face off for their entire careers. Late that night, the weight of the failed deception begins to crush the conspirators. The director's loyal dogs scramble to explain the variables that ruined their perfect plan. They promise to cover the financial losses, but money cannot fix a ruined reputation. The director turns with a gaze of pure malice, demanding total retribution for his humiliation. He orders them to find the best trainers and oversee every detail of the stage. If they fail again, he vows to personally destroy the rest of their miserable lives. A calculated executive prepares his next move to ensure the director remains under control. Deep in the night, the silence of the city masks a brewing corporate war. In a deserted park, a father and son confront the chaos they created together. The patriarch demands to know if his son can truly survive the coming professional execution. He reminds the boy that in this world, being wronged is simply the standard. The air grows thick with tension as the truth of their failure finally settles. They exchange hollow pleasantries, trying to ignore the monumental scandal threatening to destroy them. Two conspirators sit in the dark, realizing their web of lies is finally unraveling. With a trembling voice, the idol asks if his father finally heard his true soul. Regret washes over the old man as he realizes he nearly extinguished a brilliant light. A faint smile masks the crushing weight of an impossible choice. The patriarch reveals a secret meeting with the very enemy they should fear. A poisonous offer is laid out to trade integrity for a hollow debut. He desperately tries to sell the lie as a golden opportunity for survival. The young idol stares in silence as his world begins to crumble. Cruel words remind him that his innocence is a weakness in this industry. Left alone in the shadows, the weight of the decision shatters his spirit. By the next afternoon, the train to the capital signals a final departure. Broken and defeated, a talented director vows to never touch a camera again. He accepts the bitter end, convinced that success was never truly meant for him. A cryptic message from Hanrock arrives, begging the director to wait for his moment. Ignoring the warning, he takes the final steps toward abandoning his lifelong dream forever. He stops to witness the silent premiere of the project he poured his soul into. The empty theater feels like a graveyard for his talent and his forgotten career. Bitter regret washes over him as he realizes that his time may never actually come. Suddenly, a voice pierces the silence, demanding to know the genius behind the masterpiece. Powerful industry veterans stand in awe, completely captivated by the raw intensity of his work. He watches in disbelief as the men who once ignored him now crave his vision. Orders are barked to find the creator immediately, signaling a massive shift in power. Tears well up as he realizes Hanrock's prophecy of success was finally coming true. Hanrock's prediction strikes true as the forgotten director finally sees his own brilliance. A bold promise of legendary status cements a loyalty that will change everything. The spark of pure, creative joy ignites as the masterpiece finally makes sense. Industry giants descend like vultures, desperate to uncover the secrets behind the lens. Pressure mounts as the once threatened man explains his revolutionary vision for the future. Hanrock watches his master plan unfold while the lobby fills with powerful influencers. Calls flood in from elites begging for a moment with the new industry star. Every second is calculated to maximize the impact of this high-stakes marketing gamble. With one phone call, the stage is set to turn a spark into an inferno. Confusion ripples through the crowd as an unlisted event threatens to steal the show. The sudden appearance of industry titans sends shockwaves through the unsuspecting crowd. A mysterious guerrilla screening captures the attention of every influencer in the area. Amidst the chaotic energy, the directors call for a temporary reprieve from the heat. Watching the sea of people, one man realizes his life is changing forever. He questions if this massive success was truly part of Hanrock's grand design. With a confident smile, Hanrock reveals the true scale of his marketing genius. The digital display confirms the impossible, as every single seat vanishes in seconds. Later that night, the weight of years of failure finally begins to lift. Gratitude flows, as a broken dream is pieced back together by a single ally. No longer a shadow, he vows to never let his talent be buried again. Hanrock remembers a time when the man before him was consumed by arrogance. Back then, he believed art existed only to enlighten the ignorant masses. Even now, his younger self harbors those same stubborn, elitist convictions. Seizing the moment, Hanrock offers a drink to seal a new, mysterious favor. Though the project isn't his style, the director reluctantly agrees to attend. With a knowing smile, Hanrock promises this experience will shatter his expectations. But as the screening begins, a heavy atmosphere of regret fills the room. A world-class director watches with pure boredom, unimpressed by the local talent. He scoffs at the small-scale documentary, eager to leave this tedious schedule behind. Sensing the impending disaster, Hanrock realizes his gamble is on the brink of failure. The festival is failing, and the chairman demands results before the clock runs out. Corporate leadership questions if the film division can handle the legendary director's schedule. Hanrock prepares to carry the weight of the entire festival on his own shoulders. Despite the pressure, the executive feels an unusual sense of calm regarding the outcome. He chooses to trust the specific moment Hanrock has spent so long preparing. The chairman agrees to wait, his expectations rising for a miracle that seems impossible. The sun rises on the third day, bringing the moment of truth for everyone. An emergency meeting convenes to address the crushing weight of their disappointing performance. Manager O reports a sudden surge of interest in the overlooked short film category. Hanrock observes the chaos with confidence. Knowing the trap has been perfectly set, the corporate giants realize their carefully crafted numbers are finally starting to crumble. Manager O panics as an unexpected rival shatters his department's prestigious record. Inside the boardroom, the pressure mounts because mediocre results are no longer enough. Hanrock stares down his superiors, threatening to replace anyone who cannot perform. The executive demands absolute perfection, setting a stage where failure means total ruin. High above the city, the true test of this high-stakes gamble begins. Hanrock tries to steady his trembling team before they face the public eye. The assistant realizes the crushing pressure is too much for their star. A brief moment of peace at a cafe hides the looming corporate storm. Suddenly, a shocking discovery stops them cold, as a secret threat appears. Behind the scenes, the office vultures are already circling Hanrock's latest success. Hanrock knows the numbers are manipulated, but his enemies are growing bolder. Bitter rivals curse his name, desperate to see the rising star finally fall. Manager Hyun prepares a trap, vowing that this time, Hanrock will fail. Skepticism spreads through the ranks as they question if his strategy is flawed. They mock his methods, calling his arrogance nothing more than a cheap act. Little do they know, Hanrock is already several steps ahead of their schemes. The corrupt veterans laugh at the thought of a mere contract worker winning. Their malicious gossip is silenced instantly when a cold shadow looms over them. With a terrifyingly calm smile, Hanrock arrives to dismantle their pathetic little games. The tension in the room is suffocating as the corporate vultures gather. Hanrock stands tall, revealing he heard every single word of their pathetic gossip. He calmly questions which film they actually managed during the prestigious short film section. Their faces pale instantly as they realize their secret incompetence has been exposed. With surgical precision, he deconstructs the fake success of their most popular horror title. His cold gaze pierces through their lies, offering a truth they cannot handle. He reminds them that festival audiences didn't travel this far for a mediocre short. Their scheduling strategy was a desperate gamble that only a major feature could survive. The room falls silent as the weight of their failure finally crushes their spirits. Now, their entire department's survival rests solely on the project called The Plant. Hanrock reveals his master plan, proving his strategic genius far exceeds their limited vision. He mocks their arrogance, exposing how they lack the skill to even understand his moves. Rage boils over as the weight of their total humiliation turns into trembling fury. Once an intimidating executive, the manager now sweats under the pressure of his own failure. A senior intervenes to stop the slaughter, knowing the power dynamic has shifted forever. Hanrock issues a final, cold ultimatum to anyone daring to question his team's results. Desperate curses echo through the office as their pride is shattered beyond repair. Subordinates tremble in silence, realizing that challenging this man is a corporate death sentence. With his enemies silenced, Hanrock walks away, having completely conquered the corporate battlefield. The atmosphere on set is so heavy that even the seasoned staff feel the pressure. Hanrock stands ready to begin the final rehearsal that will determine their entire future. As the sun begins to set, the beach stage fills with an expectant, restless crowd. His defeated rival lingers in the crowd, desperately hoping for a total disaster to occur. The industry's biggest names arrive to witness the premiere that everyone is talking about. Even the director can feel the crushing weight of the expectations resting on his shoulders. He whispers a chilling guarantee that this will be the most entertaining show in years. The lights dim as the screen flickers to life, marking the start of his masterpiece. The story of a broken man's lost dreams begins to unfold before the silent audience. A bitter rival watches from the crowd, waiting for a single moment of failure. The sun sets over the horizon, painting the waves in shades of deep red. High-ranking officials watch with confusion, wondering who is really behind this strange event. Panic spreads through the production team as the audience remains cold and unresponsive. Hanrock maintains a chilling composure, demanding just 20 more minutes to win. His subordinates stand frozen in fear, realizing there is no turning back now. On the massive screen, a broken man confesses that his dreams are gone. A hand reaches out to pull back the screen and reveal the final act. His father's weary face appears, reciting a poem that leaves the crowd in silence. Hanrock whispers the command, initiating a plan that will change everything tonight. Across the beach, the massive screen flickers to life against a blood-red sunset. The crowd sits paralyzed as the weight of the performance hits their souls. His father's gentle smile radiates from the screen, bridging the gap between worlds. This is the raw power of cinema, a masterpiece born from pure desperation. Memories of past failures and the urge to run away haunt the protagonist. The old man's voice commands them to never fear the path ahead. Tears stream down a face that has seen too much pain and sacrifice. Total strangers weep as the vast sea bears witness to his final blessing. The father's voice reaches out, telling his son he belongs wherever he lands. A warm smile from the screen confirms that he was never truly wrong. Long ago, he stood on this very beach preparing to leave for Hollywood. The waves crashed against his ankles as if urging him to start his journey. He made a silent pledge to return only after he achieved his goals. The crushing reality of those lost days finally breaks his spirit in the present. Every person in the crowd is moved to tears by the tragic performance. Hanrock observes the chaos with a look of cold, calculated satisfaction. Manager O trembles in shock as he witnesses the total collapse of his power. The crowd erupts into a thunderous standing ovation that shakes the very air. Hanrock watches as hundreds of invisible threads begin to stretch toward him. These glowing connections bind the industry's most powerful players to his grand design. A single crimson thread from the chairman himself circles tightly at his feet. The weight of absolute destiny begins to wrap around his entire body. Choi Kyung-jun offers a look of complete trust, claiming Hanrock as his own. Manager O freezes in utter disbelief as his world crumbles into nothingness. The very film he once rejected as worthless is now a legendary masterpiece. Under Hanrock's command, the impossible has become a reality that no one can deny. Manager O finally realizes he is facing a monster he can never hope to defeat. The chairman suddenly halts the meeting, sensing the gravity of the man before him. Director Alessandro demands to speak with the mastermind behind the film and the stage. Recognizing a rare opportunity, the chairman orders his team to bring Hanrock forward. Manager O scrambles to manage the fallout as the industry's elite takes center stage. Hanrock remains composed, advising the chairman to respect the legendary director's specific wishes. Staring at the director, Manager O realizes his influence has finally been completely erased. The combined weight of Hanrock and the director creates a power no one can challenge. Alessandro smiles, knowing the industry is about to be changed by this mysterious genius. Ji-hoon trembles in the shadows, paralyzed by the weight of the looming stage. His superiors watch the breakdown, realizing only one man can fix this mess. The veteran manager pleads for help, knowing their entire project is at stake. Hanrock listens in silence, his cold gaze piercing through the young man's fear. With a sharp breath, the regressor decides to step into the line of fire. Ji-hoon spirals into self-loathing, convinced the world will only see a pathetic failure. Hanrock confronts the cowardice directly, demanding to know who dared judge him. The truth hits like a physical blow when he reveals the enemy is internal. The crowd waits in anticipation as Hanrock challenges him to face the reality. Together they march toward the light, signaling the start of a legendary debut. The stage is set for a revelation that will change everything tonight. A massive success is achieved, but the regressor is only just getting started. Hanrock probes deeper into the hidden meaning behind the masterpiece they just witnessed. The young talent admits his work was a silent prayer for strength and recognition. A simple question forces the broken man to finally acknowledge his own worth. As thunderous applause erupts, the weight of a former life begins to lift. Memories of a father's struggle remind him that his hard work wasn't in vain. The bitter resentment that fueled his journey finally transforms into a quiet peace. Behind the scenes, the mastermind's brilliant plan catches the eye of a legend. A world-renowned director demands to know the genius who orchestrated this flawless production. Hanrock stands calm as the legendary director acknowledges the sheer excellence of his production. Alessandro dismisses everything else at the festival, focused solely on this hidden masterpiece. With a humble smile, Hanrock suggests other works the director might have missed. Manager O panics, desperately trying to silence the man who holds his fate. The director finds this audacity refreshing, declaring his sudden and intense interest in Hanrock. A massive opportunity arises as Alessandro reveals his next high-stakes cinematic project. To everyone's shock, he demands that Hanrock personally manage the entire Korean release. When assistants try to intervene, the legend snaps, refusing to let anyone interfere. A confident smirk plays on Hanrock's lips as his ultimate plan finally takes shape. He boldly promises to secure the director's future under the banner of TK Entertainment. Manager O dismisses his subordinate, unaware his own downfall is already set in stone. Hanrock walks away as the legendary director promises their next meeting will be soon. Behind closed doors, the film festival numbers begin to reach an unprecedented, record-breaking peak. Reports confirm that Hanrock's strategic project now accounts for half of the entire audience. Industry staff report a massive surge in inquiries for the projects Hanrock personally managed. Satisfaction scores hit a staggering high, cementing Hanrock as the undisputed genius of the event. The legendary director declares that Hanrock is the only one worthy of leading future festivals. The final rankings confirm a total sweep, leaving Hanrock's enemies cursing his impossible success. Manager O and his allies crumble, realizing Hanrock has completely cleaned out the festival. High-ranking executives now wonder who truly dominated the event and stole the entire spotlight. After the festival, Hanrock reflects on the masterpiece that changed everything. Despite his massive sales, he knows the industry remains cold and unforgiving. His companion notices a rare spark of genuine happiness in the strategist's eyes. For the first time, Hanrock allows himself a small, victorious smile. Deep in the shadows, a bitter rival finally admits he cannot match Hanrock's talent. Manager O vows to use every dirty trick to protect his crumbling position. Back at the corporate headquarters, the name of the new genius echoes through halls. Co-workers swarm Hanrock, desperate for details on his legendary success in Busan. The office buzzes with rumors of his private meeting with the world's greatest director. Manager O interrupts the praise, summoning Hanrock to face the high-ranking executives. A high-ranking executive hears word that a desperate rival is making his move. Hanrock walks away calmly, knowing his enemy is already backed into a corner. The pressure mounts as the old guard realizes their influence is rapidly vanishing. Anxious employees can feel the shifting tides as the power dynamic completely flips. Every step toward the executive office is a calculated move toward total domination. The strategist recalls the betrayal from his past life and refuses to fail again. The powerful chairman acknowledges the legendary success achieved during the recent festival. A prestigious promotion is dangled like bait to test the young man's ambition. Hanrock remains unfazed even when told his advancement has been intentionally blocked. The executive realizes that Hanrock has already predicted every single word he said. The ultimate corporate war begins as the chairman reveals a secret executive acquisition plan. A simple proposal carries deadly weight. The highest sales division claims total station control. Failing this mission means losing everything, yet Hanrock chooses to enter the fray. Success demands a moment where a man must stake his entire existence. The prize is set. Victory in this war secures the coveted division head seat. A cold question pierces the air, demanding to know if he will bet everything. Without a hint of hesitation, the regressor confirms his absolute readiness for the gamble. Impressed by such youthful audacity, the elder leader finally acknowledges his potential. Knowing the test is over, the strategist prepares to claim his promised reward. The decision is finalized as the chairman prepares to announce a new leader. Hanrock flips the script, demanding to know if his superior is worth the risk. The high-ranking executive stands frozen, stunned by the audacity of a mere subordinate. A volatile mix of fury and genuine intrigue flashes across the old man's face. Intrigued by the gamble, the powerful leader decides to hear the young man out. Hanrock makes his move, demanding control over the company's most high-stakes cinematic project. Suspicion arises as the executive questions if this is a play for personal revenge. With absolute certainty, the regressor guarantees a record-breaking 10 million viewers for the film. The weight of his confidence shifts the room, forcing the leader to reconsider everything. The final blow lands, as Hanrock exposes a massive web of corporate bribery and threats. Now he issues a chilling ultimatum, warning the director not to protect his enemy. The executive weighs the risk of losing a key player in the coming war. He senses that this young man is a force far beyond his own control. Despite the danger, the aura of the regressor is far too compelling to ignore. He recognizes that the seat of power is destined for a new master today. The decision is made to back the newcomer and suspend his corrupt superior immediately. However, Suspension is a mercy that the man seeking vengeance will not grant. He demands a total purge through an official audit to finish his enemy forever. This move places them both in the line of fire of the company's investigators. The leader grants his support, provided the proper corporate procedures are strictly followed. They stand at the very threshold where the nightmare of the past first began. In his past life, the audit team dragged him away in total disgrace. Now, he prepares the digital trap to make his enemy pay the price. The sun rises on the day the corporate hierarchy finally begins to crumble. Investigators corner the corrupt manager, demanding his credentials and every piece of evidence. They dismiss his desperate pleas of illegality, telling him to argue in court. The once powerful executive is ordered to remain isolated until the final judgment falls. While the office trembles in fear, the regressor watches his master plan unfold. This ruin is only the beginning, as he refuses to stop until everything burns. Silence fills the cold concrete depths where the next phase of vengeance waits. He steps into the shadows, ready to drive the final nail into their coffins. Hanrock turns as a sudden confrontation shatters the silence of the parking garage. The cornered manager lunges forward, his face twisted with pure, unadulterated rage. He grips the regressor's collar, demanding to know if this was his doing. With chilling composure, Hanrock admits he never intended to hide his involvement. A coalition of powerful leaders has already gathered to ensure the manager's ruin. Their collective fear of Hanrock's promotion has turned them into a dangerous weapon. Under the cold gaze of security cameras, Hanrock reveals he expected this trap. Hanrock warns that the true enemy is the manager's own history of corruption. Turning his back on the fallen giant, the regressor leaves him to rot. But the cornered beast refuses to yield, swearing he still has ways to win. Hanrock leaves his broken former boss with a final, crushing realization. He knows the man is nothing more than a corrupt, incompetent relic. Stepping into his car, the regressor prepares for the next phase. A sudden notification reveals the official audit is set for this Thursday. The desperate manager is dragging everyone into a dirty, public mud fight. Instead of retreating, Hanrock sees this confrontation as his greatest opportunity. He reaches out to activate a secret alliance he forged long ago. A high-ranking department manager confirms he received the secret proposal. Hanrock instructs his mole to continue feeding him, reports on every movement. The informant warns that the enemy still has many powerful allies remaining. The race against time begins as the corporate scandal finally reaches its boiling point. Without concrete evidence of bribery, the entire case rests solely on unreliable witness testimony. But Hanrock remains unfazed, knowing exactly how to dismantle his former superior's fragile defense. A desperate manager O realizes the upcoming audit has shifted into a lethal public hearing. With the stakes at their peak, the regressor vows that failure is not an option. 3 days of silence pass before the morning of the decisive corporate confrontation finally arrives. Strict orders from the president himself force everyone toward the central conference room for judgment. Powerful shadows watch from the sidelines, waiting to see who survives this internal power struggle. Stepping into the lion's den, Hanrock prepares to deliver his testimony as a key witness. Across the room, his cornered enemy waits, unaware that his total ruin is already inevitable. Assistant Manager Yu trembles as the heavy atmosphere of the audit room suffocates him. The formal inquiry into Manager O's long history of corruption finally begins today. An intimidating auditor demands the truth regarding the illegal bribes allegedly ordered from above. Yu confesses that he only obeyed to protect his career from being destroyed. Manager O listens in silence, his expression unreadable as his crimes are laid bare. Every eye in the room turns toward the veteran executive for his final plea. To everyone's absolute shock, the corrupt manager calmly admits that every word is true. The whistleblower freezes, unable to comprehend why his superior would surrender so easily. Disbelief ripples through the crowd as the certain victory suddenly feels like a trap. A predatory smile creeps across the villain's face as he prepares to destroy Hanrock. The veteran executive calmly admits to every dark secret and corrupt scheme. But his admission comes with a lethal twist that changes everything. He slides a hidden document across the table, shifting the target. The investigator's face pales as he reads the shocking testimony from K-Film. Panic consumes the assistant as the evidence suddenly points directly at him. Cold, hard records prove the illegal money went straight into his personal account. The villainous manager watches his subordinate crumble, labeling his pleas as pathetic excuses. With a predatory gaze, he claims Hanrock was merely a victim of deception. Blind rage erupts as the scapegoat realizes he has been completely discarded. The trap is sealed as the true mastermind frames his own subordinate for everything. Hanrock feigns sympathy for being dragged into the corporate mess. He hides a cold smirk while being accused of being a shameless bastard. He ruthlessly questions how the manager suddenly afforded such expensive luxury items. The auditor calls for the next witness to enter the interrogation room. Tense footsteps echo as the final piece of the trap walks in. The corrupt assistants tremble as they realize their downfall is finally here. With a stern gaze, the investigator demands the truth from the newcomer. Manager O freezes in terror as his previous crimes are brought to light. The auditor mocks his pathetic excuses about everything being a simple misunderstanding. Desperate messages reveal the fear of losing everything if the truth escapes. Hanrock overlooks the city, fueled by a singular, burning desire for total revenge. He clenches his fist, ready to stake his entire life on this final move. Speeding through the night, he prepares to force a ghost into the light. He knows exactly how to manipulate those who think they are above taking orders. The auditor agrees that luring the target into a trap is the perfect strategy. Even the most seasoned veterans realize Hanrock is no longer the man he was. With a cold smile, he accepts the compliment, knowing his enemies are already finished. Looking into the mirror, he vows to make his betrayer pay back every debt. Meanwhile, Manager O trembles as the consequences of his crimes finally arrive. The pathetic manager screams, desperately trying to command a man who no longer obeys. The disgraced subordinate glares back, warning his boss that silence is no longer an option. He casually admits to the corruption, no longer caring about the consequences of his actions. In front of the board, he confesses he was merely a puppet for his superior. Memories of his miserable reassignment remind him why he chose to burn it all down. He leans in with a terrifying grin, promising to take his master down with him. Hanrock steps into the room, silencing the chaos with his sudden and imposing presence. He presents the physical proof of their crimes, a log of every illicit money transfer. The executive panics, desperately claiming he never gave the order to steal that money. Even the traitor is impressed, realizing Hanrock has played this game better than anyone. But the strategist knows bank records aren't enough to deliver the final, killing blow. The vengeful manager Ku hunts for the one secret gift that will end it all. A simple photo of a luxury watch becomes the ultimate death sentence for a traitor. Cold sweat drips as the evidence is found exactly where it was predicted to be. Cornered and desperate, the corrupt executive frantically shifts the blame to anyone but himself. Hanrock watches the pathetic display with the icy gaze of a man who already won. He pulls out a recording device, turning the villain's own words into a lethal weapon. The serial number on that wrist matches the records perfectly, leaving no room for excuses. Justice finally catches up as the man who ruined lives is forced to face reality. There is no escape now that his former subordinate has delivered the final killing blow. With a new audit looming, the once powerful predator realizes his reign of terror is over. Hanrock reveals the names of everyone who tried to bury the truth. He hands over the list of those who decided to destroy his life. The auditor listens as Hanrock exposes Manager O's personal confession. Every single person involved in the bribery cover-up is finally brought to light. The auditor realizes this corruption goes far deeper than he ever imagined. With the testimony complete, Hanrock is dismissed from the interrogation room. He leaves with a cold parting gift, thanking his enemy for the cooperation. By the next afternoon, the entire TKENM headquarters is in total chaos. The audit is officially over, and every witness has pointed to one man. Cornered and broken, the corrupt manager is told to shut up and sit. The chairman lists every single traitor now caught in Hanrock's inescapable trap. Drenched in sweat, the manager desperately blames the boy for the entire division's collapse. Cold eyes narrow behind glass as the chairman mocks the man's pathetic stupidity. The weight of age and failure finally crushes the spirit of a corrupt legend. Looking down from above, the executive delivers a final verdict of total incompetence. A chilling whisper confirms the nightmare is real. His era is officially over. Rumors of bribery catch fire, turning the once silent office into a den of whispers. Stripped of his pride, the former manager is escorted out with nothing but shame. The chairman anticipates a bloodbath as the marketing division prepares for a new master. Hanrock stands tall, watching the man who once destroyed him crawl away in ruin. Hanrock confronts his former tormentor, watching the once powerful manager finally break under pressure. Desperate and cornered, the old man sneers, calling the young strategist a total fool. A chilling smile spreads across Hanrock's face as he revels in the manager's stupidity. Clutching his meager belongings, the fallen executive stares at the man who destroyed him. His hands tremble violently with a mixture of terror and unbridled, impotent rage. The office air shatters as he screams Hanrock's name, losing every ounce of dignity. Chaos erupts as security lunges forward to restrain the frantic, disgraced former leader. With blinding speed, Hanrock pins his enemy to the floor in a dominant display. Looking down with absolute contempt, he tells the man to stop being so pathetic. As guards drag him away, the legend of the corrupt manager ends in screams. The bitter words of his past enemies still echo with a hollow sting. They once mocked his ambition while he stood alone against the corporate machine. In this cutthroat world, no one expected the underdog to survive the isolation. But now the tables have turned as Manager O's heart nearly stops from terror. Desperate screams fill the hall as the fallen executive realizes his reign is over. Hanrock remains perfectly composed, politely thanking those who helped clear the trash. Onlookers watch in stunned silence, terrified by the sheer coldness of his victory. With a simple click, he begins his ascent toward the absolute peak of power. Behind the closing doors, he vows never to let anyone look down on him. By morning, the office is empty, leaving only rumors of a silent, brutal execution. Hanrock surveys the office wreckage, watching as the weak are finally purged away. He steps past the fallen, shifting his focus toward a more valuable target. Finding assistant manager Yu amidst the chaos, he calls for a private confrontation. The cold reality of corporate punishment looms over the room like a death sentence. Facing a long suspension and total exile, Yu prepares for his career to end. Hanrock realizes the director showed mercy, but the political game has just begun. The chairman declares that anyone who crossed Hanrock will face the harshest penalties. Refusing to follow the rules, Hanrock fights to save his only remaining ally. He admits his true intentions, testing the old man's willingness to grant mercy. Sensing Hanrock's growing influence, the chairman agrees to spare the final survivor. Hanrock faces the man who nearly lost everything in this ruthless corporate war. Packed boxes signal a quiet end to a career once filled with ambition. They stand together one last time before their paths finally diverge. Hanrock offers a final word of reassurance that changes everything for the broken man. For the first time in years, a genuine smile replaces the shadow of defeat. Walking away from the chaos, the weight of regret finally lifts from his shoulders. Under the bright sky, he finds the peace that only true redemption can provide. But for Hanrock, the master of this game, a new trial begins immediately. The chairman confirms that their enemies are crushed and Hanrock's promotion is secured. He bows to his superior, hiding the lethal ambition that still burns within. Hanrock's cold gaze fixes on the news of a forced corporate reorganization. The chairman demands he take control, splitting him from his most trusted ally. But Hanrock refuses the promotion, choosing loyalty over a higher title. The superior narrows his eyes, warning that this defiance will stall his career. Unfazed by the threat, Hanrock calmly accepts the consequences of his choice. As he turns to leave, the confused executive questions his devotion to a subordinate. Hanrock simply states that the man's hidden talent is the key to their success. The chairman scoffs, believing Hanrock is blinded by an inflated sense of loyalty. With a sharp glance, Hanrock suggests the old man is the one losing vision. He walks away, knowing exactly how this calculated gamble will finally pay off. The chairman finally yields, promising to bring the matter directly to the director. Behind closed doors, he admits that Hanrock is becoming impossible to control. Standing against the sunset, they question why a talented man remained stagnant for years. The advisor reveals that petty corporate grudges were used to kill a promising career. Now, the logic for a promotion is undeniable if they want the team's success. Hanrock previously swore he could turn a simple project into a global masterpiece. The chairman realizes that winning the upcoming war requires Hanrock's absolute brilliance. He decides to grant Hanrock's demands and promote the loyal subordinate immediately. His advisor is stunned, unable to comprehend why the chairman would suddenly fold. He argues the man lacks the cold ruthlessness needed to lead at this level. The weight of Hanrock's influence begins to transform everyone working beneath him. The chairman watches closely, eager to see the true limits of this man's power. Despite the internal protests, the order is given to promote the unlikely candidate immediately. Failure is not an option, as any weakness will result in a swift termination. This isn't just a promotion, it's a lethal test of Hanrock's leadership and resolve. The official announcement goes live, cementing a new era for the struggling company. Overwhelmed with joy, a veteran employee celebrates a miracle he never saw coming. Back at his desk, Hanrock is reminded that he now carries total responsibility. He offers a confident smirk, knowing exactly why he chose these specific allies. A new section chief is born, all according to Hanrock's master plan for dominance. Assistant manager Ha joins the team as Hanrock begins selecting his new allies. Yuseon is the next to follow, ready to support his vision for dominance. He sets an impossible target, aiming for a record-breaking 10-million viewer cinematic masterpiece. Now recognized as Manager Lee, Hanrock prepares to rewrite the company's entire future. At the massive TKENM headquarters, the official transition of power finally begins. Seeing his new ID card triggers a flood of memories from his previous life. He recalls the bitter jealousy and hidden daggers he faced during his first promotion. But this time the atmosphere has shifted, replaced by genuine praise from his colleagues. Hanrock accepts the congratulations with a calm smile, knowing his plan is working. His loyal team celebrates the milestone by presenting a thoughtful gift to their leader. Hanrock stares at the gift, stunned by a choice that feels eerily familiar. He remembers a clumsy mistake from the past that nearly ruined his professional image. Back then, a simple question about his favorite color had gone completely unnoticed. Now, he stands before his loyal colleague, deeply moved by her unexpected kindness. They share a moment of mutual respect, acknowledging the hard work that bound them. Suddenly, another team member arrives with an identical box in his hand. A cold sweat breaks as Hanrok realizes his staff might be too synchronized. The second gift is revealed, confirming his suspicion about the contents inside. To ease the tension, the new manager offers to treat his entire team. Just as the celebration begins, the final member of the squad finally appears. A thoughtful gift serves as a reminder of Hanrok's rising influence in the company. As lunch begins, the young manager steps out to find a moment of peace. He spots his father hiding in the shadows, looking unusually tense and weary. The older man signals for silence as bitter voices drift from the corner. Jealous colleagues are whispering, claiming his father's promotion was unearned and purely luck. They credit Hanrok for everything, dismissing his father as a talentless shadow. The insults grow louder as they mock the man who worked for decades. Without a word, Hanrok steps into the light to confront the cowards. Terrified by his presence, the gossiping snakes flee before he can even speak. Hanrok comforts his father, vowing to protect the dignity he fought to restore. The father forces a smile, even though his heart is weighed down by guilt. Hanrok warns that the higher one climbs, the more the jealous whispers follow. Stealing his resolve, the older man refuses to let his son carry this burden. Returning to the executive office, Hanrok prepares to collect on a life-changing debt. The chairman acknowledges the promotion but reminds him that every favor has a price. With a corporate war looming, the pressure to deliver record sales reaches its peak. Hanrok is handed the Rhapsody project with a terrifying demand for 10 million viewers. The powerful leader questions why a mere manager would gamble everything on this film. Using his future knowledge, Hanrok envisions a revolutionary experience that changes the industry. He plans to turn a simple screening into a massive festival that dominates everything. The chairman smiles, finally seeing a path to turn the industry upside down. He notes that their rivals are already struggling to keep up with the pace. Hanrok recalls the original timeline where the company suffered a total, humiliating defeat. To rewrite history, they must find a way to aggressively dominate the market. The chairman's gaze turns lethal as he orders the total elimination of all competition. He commands Hanrok to ruthlessly strangle their rivals to prove his corporate loyalty. Hanrok calmly admits that he isn't a fan of such dirty, underhanded tactics. The elder executive scoffs, warning that hesitation has no place in this war. But Hanrok clarifies that just because he dislikes it doesn't mean he can't. He reveals with a dark smile that destroying rivals is actually his specialty. The chairman smirks, knowing he finally found the perfect weapon for his corporate war. With a single order, the massive marketing campaign for their biggest project officially begins. The team reels as the staggering 60 billion won production budget is finally revealed. Even the most seasoned managers tremble at the sheer scale of the financial risk. Hanrok reminds them that while pressure is high, the freedom to innovate is absolute. Colleagues worry that an old rock legend won't resonate with the cynical modern market. His team bluntly warns that the genre is dead to the younger generation. They argue that a simple biography will never survive in today's competitive market. Hanrok pivots the strategy, deciding to sell an experience rather than just a story. He confidently reveals a revolutionary plan to turn every screening into a live concert. Assistant manager Ha trembles, doubting if the audience can even handle English rock lyrics. His father questions the strategy, assuming the quality of the music is the only factor. But Hanrok remains cold, claiming that the music itself is actually secondary to success. He challenges his team to explain why fans still flock to live concert venues. It is all about the electric atmosphere and the shared bond of a crowd. With a sharp smirk, he declares they are selling a feeling, not just film. The chairman acknowledges the valid concerns regarding the public's lack of interest in Queen. Hanrok immediately shuts down the idea of traditional TV ads as a total waste. Every single one must be calculated to maximize impact without burning through their budget. The chairman demands to know where the funds will go if the old ways die. The executive demands to know exactly how much Hanrok plans to burn. With a cold stare, Hanrok demands half the total budget for one project. The manager reels back in shock, convinced Hanrok has finally lost his mind. But Hanrok remains unfazed, promising returns that defy every known corporate logic. He completely rejects traditional television ads, leaving the senior executive speechless. The manager insists on playing it safe, terrified of such a massive gamble. Hanrok realizes his superior is stuck in the past and lacks true vision. He reminds the veteran that he already conquered the industry as a junior. A heavy silence fills the room as two different eras of power collide. The executive trembles, realizing he can no longer control this rising monster. Hanrok challenges his superior's cowardice, demanding trust in his revolutionary vision. He declares his methods are the only ones that guarantee absolute success. Panicked, the manager retreats to the high office to sabotage the plan. He warns the chairman that Hanrock's gambles will destroy the company's acquisition, but the chairman looks down on him with nothing but cold disappointment. He reminds the veteran that his lack of trust is a fatal weakness. Blocking a genius like Hanrock is the greatest mistake a leader can make. The audience decides who wins, and they have already chosen their champion. The chairman demands to know if a failure even has the right to interfere. Stripped of his authority, the manager can only tremble in silent, crushing defeat. The chairman finally grants the genius full authority over the massive project. He decides to watch closely as Hanrock takes total control of the company. Even the veteran leaders are beginning to show a side he never expected. Humbled and defeated, the manager can only look down in silent shame. The chairman realizes that having a subordinate like Hanrock is a rare blessing. A cold smile creeps across his face as the corporate landscape shifts. He observes that even his most stubborn executives are starting to evolve. Hanrock's influence is infectious, turning once limited men into valuable assets. Just then, a knock at the door signals the arrival of the mastermind. Hanrock enters the room, ready to lead the company into a new era. Hanrock sits before the chairman, prepared to initiate his most daring move yet. He requests a massive budget for sing-along screenings, betting everything on the fans. But this is just the beginning of a plan that sounds like corporate suicide. The chairman watches closely as Hanrock proposes an impossible slot at a festival. He intends to premiere the Rhapsody there, defying every traditional marketing rule. Despite the growing mystery of his success, his peers think he is insane. Then comes the final blow: a demand to make the first screening free. The chairman demands a flawless explanation for such a reckless and costly gamble. Hanrock reveals his vision for capturing the most passionate audience in the country. By filming their reactions for viral ads, he plans to conquer the entire industry. Hanrock calmly breaks down the psychological trap behind a free first screening. He points out the hidden gaps in the festival's supposedly fixed schedule. The chairman realizes he is being backed into a corner by a mere manager. He sees through the plan. Hanrock wants the boss to do the dirty work. The air grows heavy as the chairman realizes he is being used as a pawn. Standing tall, the titan of industry warns that a dangerous line has been crossed. Unfazed by the killing intent, Hanrock promises the gamble will be worth the risk. Tension explodes in the room as the powerful executive weighs the audacity of the request. Then, a predatory smile forms as he decides to play this dangerous game. Hanrock brings his impossible proposal directly to the doors of the live entertainment division. Choi initiates a high-stakes gamble by demanding a slot at the upcoming festival. The director of live entertainment feels the suffocating weight of the executive's presence. Even with the internal hierarchy shifting, the sheer audacity of the pitch is overwhelming. He reminds himself that he still holds the final authority over this decision. Choi remains relentless, pushing for access to the festival's remaining empty time slots. Tensions peak as the director warns that this move is a dangerous overstep. A collaboration is offered, promising the kind of publicity that changes everything. Skepticism remains high as the director questions the timing amidst an acquisition war. Choi reframes the entire situation, claiming he is presenting a golden corporate opportunity. He promises to elevate the division into the center of the ultimate power struggle. Choi looms like a predator, offering a reward that feels more like a trap. Trapped in a different world of power, the director realizes he must choose wisely. A deep bow signals total submission to the man who controls the corporate board. With a sinister smile, Choi confirms that he has secured his newest corporate pawn. News of an unprecedented free festival sends shockwaves through the quiet corporate hallways. Corporate veterans watch in disbelief as the young manager rewrites the rules of engagement. They start to realize that Hanrock is no longer a man they can control. Even his allies warn him to slow down before he burns the company down. Behind that confident expression lies the terrifying knowledge of a man from the future. The enemy watches from the shadows, delighted that his rival finally caused some trouble. The ambitious president brushes aside trivial matters to face his ultimate judge. Deep within the corporate headquarters, the weight of a legendary legacy hangs heavy. He reports the massive success of the festival to his silent, imposing superior. A sharp, calculating gaze evaluates every single word for a hint of weakness. 5 years of corporate leadership are being weighed by the group's founding father. The legendary chairman Hatajan demands proof that his son is finally ready. A confident smirk reveals that the president has discovered a truly unique asset. The elder questions if any subordinate is worth bringing to the inner circle. Without a moment of hesitation, he confirms that a genius has finally emerged. Now, the most powerful man in the industry demands the name of this player. The chairman hears a name that has never crossed his desk before. His son explains how this unknown manager saved the entire film festival. For the first time, the old man is actually impressed by the results. He shifts the focus to a more seasoned pawn within the corporate game. The chairman reveals he is moving his best pieces for the coming war. Everything is being staged for the massive succession that will shake the group. Jung Yeop remembers the crushing weight of living in his brother's massive shadow. The elder taunts him with the possibility of finally becoming the superior. Fueled by ambition, the president vows to finally climb over that impossible wall. Alone in the dark, he realizes his ultimate goal is finally within reach. Jung Yeop's eyes burn with a hunger that could consume the entire TK empire. Behind closed doors, the pieces for their biggest project are finally being moved. When asked who leads the charge, the name Lee Hanrock rings through the room. The chairman's haunting words echo, promising absolute power over those who once stood tall. With a cold gaze, the president orders a replacement to strip Hanrock of authority. His senior executive freezes, realizing this reckless move could burn the company to ash. Tension explodes as the student turns on his teacher with a lethal corporate threat. Defending his former rival, the manager warns that Hanrock is an exceptional monster. He cautions that pushing a genius into a corner will only trigger violent retaliation. But the decision is final, sparking a war that will change the industry forever. The master plan is finally in motion as the office erupts with sudden excitement. Online engagement explodes as fans desperately demand the return of a legendary rock band. Watching the numbers climb, the team realizes their marketing trap has exceeded all expectations. Even seasoned veterans are stunned by how easily the young manager manipulates public interest. But victory brings immediate friction from other departments, desperate to protect their own territory. A heated confrontation begins over the phone as rival divisions feel their authority slipping. Jealousy burns within the company as the film campaign completely overshadows the main festival. Hanrock remains cold and calculated, prepared to offer a hand or a crushing blow. The tension reaches a breaking point when the team refuses to back down from provocation. A petty war over stage times now threatens to derail the industry's biggest event. Seeing his team member cornered, Hanrock steps in to seize control of the call. He identifies himself with a cold authority that instantly chills the arrogant caller. The office falls silent as he demands answers for the sudden scheduling sabotage. He listens to their desperate excuses, with eyes that see through every corporate lie. Hanrock exposes their cowardly tactic of targeting his staff while he was away. He warns them that his patience for their petty games has finally run dry. The truth is simple. They are terrified because his success makes them look obsolete. His rivals can only watch in stunned silence as he delivers a lethal ultimatum. Without waiting for a plea, he severs the connection and ends the pathetic debate. Turning back to his subordinate, the master manipulator prepares his next decisive move. A subordinate offers a desperate apology for the chaos he couldn't prevent. Hanrock remains calm, refusing to let his loyal team take the fall. He points the finger at the rival division that orchestrated this trap. Relief washes over the assistant manager as the heavy burden is lifted. Granting his staff a moment of rest, the regressor prepares to strike. Staring at the streets below, he realizes how much the timeline has changed. This corporate jungle is a cycle of violence that never truly ends. The skyscraper looms ahead, built on a foundation of greed and power. Standing at the peak, he questions if he can truly reform this monster. An urgent summons from the division head signals the next high-stakes confrontation. A sudden order arrives to strip Hanrock of his most vital project. He demands an explanation for this blatant betrayal from his superior. Suspicion grows as he realizes the corruption reaches much higher than expected. Behind the mask of authority, the weight of this endless corporate war lingers. He is told to face the president directly to prove his worth. The time for holding back has ended as the stakes finally peak. Rumors of the leadership change spread through the cold office halls. Confronting the president, the regressor refuses to accept these vague excuses. The leader offers a different project as a shallow form of compensation. His eyes burn with fury as he prepares to dismantle their pathetic game. Hanrock breaks the silence, demanding a chance to speak his mind to the president. He reveals a revolutionary marketing strategy using future knowledge to dominate the industry. The weight of his plan threatens to reshape the company's entire brand identity. But the president remains cold, handing the project to a rival instead. Shocked, Hanrock questions if his pathetic competitor truly conceived such a brilliant idea. He pushes further, exposing the lies behind the stolen strategy piece by piece. Caught in a corner, the leader admits the rival didn't create anything at all. Watching the regressor's intensity, the president realizes he underestimated the young man's backbone. He attempts to force a compromise, ordering a joint partnership between the two rivals. Hanrock refuses to share his glory, claiming absolute ownership over his destined victory. Hanrock refuses to surrender his project without a justifiable reason from his superiors. He calls out the hollow corporate culture where employees only hinder each other's progress. Facing the president, he warns that a stagnant company like this has no future. The regressor directly accuses his superior of fostering a toxic and uninspiring work environment. Standing firm in the massive office, the tension between the two men becomes suffocating. The president questions if the young manager is truly prepared to walk away forever. Hanrock reaffirms his deep passion for the industry while standing his ground with confidence. He clarifies that his loyalty ends where the president's refusal to change begins. The final ultimatum is set, leaving his entire future in his boss's hands. With a final cold farewell, he turns away, ready to leave the company behind. The president ponders the chilling gratitude of a man who should be trembling. He cannot fathom the bottomless confidence radiating from his supposedly inferior employee. His veteran advisor reminds him that this defiance is nothing new for them. The old executive suggests that perhaps they are the ones acting too proud. A heavy weight settles in the room as the true purpose becomes clear. The president admits that the encounter has shaken his very foundation of power. They weigh the risks of shifting major projects to satisfy the chairman's whims. The advisor remains skeptical of why a simple assistant manager commands such attention. It is revealed that the highest authority in the company is watching closely. With a sharp gaze, the president demands a total reassessment of their strategy. The veteran advisor declares that the entire empire now rests in his hands. He reminds the president that the loyalty of the staff is finally secured. Shaken by the weight of leadership, the young executive struggles to find words. He recalls the manager's warning that a stagnant company is destined to fail. Desperate for a path forward, he asks for guidance on his next move. The advisor departs, acknowledging that Hanrock has successfully manipulated the entire board. The president realizes he must finally step out from his father's long shadow. With newfound resolve, he summons the genius manager to his private office. Hanrock stands before his superior, ready for the next phase of the plan. He predicts a calculated alliance, preparing for a battle that is far from over. Hanrock prepares to walk away forever if the president makes the wrong choice. But the high-ranking executive finally admits he completely misjudged the situation. He humbles himself, confessing that his attempts to steal the project were immature. Looking Hanrock in the eye, he takes full responsibility for his massive mistake. The power dynamic shifts as the boss promises full support for Hanrock's vision. Hanrock is stunned by the sudden dismissal after such a shocking turn of events. Before leaving, he seizes the opportunity to demand total control over the screening times. The president realizes he finally found someone who truly wants to do things right. As Hanrock reaches for the door, he is stopped by one final, unexpected call. The man who once held all the power delivers a sincere, heart-wrenching apology. Hanrock accepts the humble apology, knowing he has finally broken the cycle of corruption. Walking away, he realizes the entire company is shifting under his absolute control. A cold determination flickers in his eyes as he envisions a new corporate era. His former rival admits defeat, offering total support for Hanrock's next master plan. Jung asks the regressor how it feels to bend the president to his will. The taste of victory is sweet, but the real game is only just beginning. Standing before his advisor, Hanrock reveals he has set his sights even higher. He recalls a previous offer of power that he wasn't quite ready to take. Now, the time has come to claim the throne he was once denied. He will build an empire where no one can ever interfere with his vision. Hanrock declares his intent to transform the company from the inside out. His mentor realizes that the young manager has finally found his true purpose. Ambition was once his only weakness, but now that fire burns within his eyes. The veteran executive watches as his protege sheds every last trace of hesitation. With limitless potential and terrifying growth, he is becoming a threat to everyone above. Instead of fear, a dark smirk reveals a rival ready for the ultimate challenge. Under the cover of night, a secret war for corporate succession begins to escalate. The president stands his ground against the man who controls the entire conglomerate. The chairman demands absolute obedience, furious that his precise orders were ignored. A son finally defies his father, claiming ownership of the empire he helped build. The president asserts his dominance, claiming total ownership of the corporate battlefield. His veteran advisor returns, questioning if the latest lessons have been mastered. Hanrock sits in quiet confidence, dismissing the trivial games played by his superiors. He stands tall, declaring that he is the one truly running this empire. A subtle smirk reveals that the mentor is pleased by this ruthless evolution. The path to succession remains narrow, dictated entirely by the chairman's iron will. A massive rock festival collaboration is proposed to cement their industry dominance. As the schedule tightens, the tension between family and business reaches a peak. An urgent summons arrives, demanding a face-to-face meeting with the powerful chairman. Without a second thought, the president orders the meeting to be cancelled immediately. The president cancels the chairman's appointment to focus on the massive rock festival. Choi watches with a cunning smile, sensing a shift in the corporate winds. At 2 p.m, the conflict moves to the 19th floor conference room. Two rival teams assemble to coordinate the schedule for their most ambitious project. Manager Yu trembles as he realizes his department is standing on a landmine. He faces Hanrock, a man who commands absolute fear from the higher-ups. Trapped by conflicting orders, the veteran manager begins to break under the pressure. A heavy silence falls as Hanrock prepares to settle a long-standing debt. He calls out the history of unreasonable demands forced upon his loyal staff. Before proceeding, he demands the opposition answer for every past corporate crime. Hanrock refuses to back down until justice is finally served. He demands a formal apology for the years of corporate abuse. Even the veteran executives realize the tide has turned against them. Sweating under the pressure, the corrupt manager finally begins to crack. In a shocking display of submission, he bows before his former victim. Assistant Manager Ha stands frozen, receiving the apology he never expected. He realizes Hanrock is a leader who truly fights for his people, but the true mastermind behind the scheme remains stubbornly defiant. Hanrock exposes the hidden hand that orchestrated every single illegal move. Furious at being cornered, the executive explodes in a desperate fit of rage. Hanrock abruptly ends the meeting, leaving his stunned rivals in the dust. The atmosphere turns icy as the regressor walks away without a second glance. Cornered and desperate, the corrupt manager finally breaks and begs for mercy. Hanrock remains cold, shifting his focus toward reorganizing the critical screening schedule. His enemies tremble, realizing their entire project is being methodically dismantled and absorbed. Every move is calculated to consume the festival and leave the opposition powerless. With a chilling smile, he makes a move that no one expected. He chooses the substage, confusing those who thought he only wanted total dominance. While he could seize every time slot, he refuses to become the villain. Hanrock will reshape this industry his way, proving he is a different breed. Hanrock offers a hand of cooperation to those who once feared his total dominance. Assistant Manager Ha realizes that this isn't a conquest, but a mutual strategic benefit. Yu Jungtae trembles as he is told to stop the petty corporate sabotage immediately. With a piercing smile, Hanrock declares that the era of corrupt industry manipulation ends. Far from the tension of the meeting, a mysterious phone call breaks the silence. A rising star named Unil listens intently to the news of the legendary festival. He finds the strategy fascinating, sensing a master designer behind these unconventional moves. In a bustling office, he realizes a single genius is pulling all the strings. He is stunned to find someone in Korea who matches his own elite caliber. Meanwhile, the shadow of Hollywood looms over the next phase of this global game. After years of living as a ghost, he finally returned to reclaim his destiny. He cast aside all personal attachments to focus entirely on his cold corporate revenge. Meanwhile, an elite overseas analyst senses a massive shift occurring within the Korean market. A blockbuster production from the West is destined to cause chaos across the globe. Now, international power players are hunting for the mastermind pulling all the secret strings. They realize the industry is suddenly overflowing with talent that shouldn't even exist yet. Rumors of a rising superstar threaten to wipe out every established name in entertainment. Instead of fearing the competition, the elite strategist welcomes the challenge with a smile. With the festival dates finally set, the stage is prepared for a legendary confrontation. Hanrock readies his final play, ensuring his influence spreads like an unstoppable wildfire. Hanrock rejects the easy path, choosing smaller screens to build a viral frenzy. The trap is set as his rivals unknowingly cooperate with every calculated demand. Opening day arrives and the massive festival stage waits for a legendary performance. Tens of thousands flood the gates, creating a sea of potential for his masterpiece. His team stands in awe, realizing the sheer magnitude of the plan he's unleashed. They whisper in disbelief, wondering how one man could envision such an impossible scale. Hanrock remains calm, ensuring his sideshow doesn't overshadow the festival's main event yet. Under the clear sky, the final pieces of his corporate operation click into place. He orders his team to simply watch, for the real chaos begins tomorrow morning. With a confident smile, the strategist prepares to set the entire industry ablaze. Hanrock realizes the situation is moving faster than even he anticipated. A massive crowd swarms the booths, desperate for a chance at the event. Night falls over the festival, as the true operation finally begins. The substage glows under the moonlight as fans gather in anticipation. Hanrock notifies his father that it is time to unleash the secret weapon. Fans debate which legendary act will steal the show tonight. Suddenly, a thunderous rhythm shakes the ground and silences the chatter. A mysterious figure takes the stage, radiating the aura of a true legend. The first notes of an iconic masterpiece echo through the speakers. With a rhythmic clap, the strategist begins to rewrite music history. The rhythm begins with a simple beat that vibrates through the entire festival ground. Thousands gather as the screen ignites, confirming that the impossible plan is working. The clock strikes 8 as the highly anticipated rock festival screening finally commences. Stepping into the spotlight, The strategist introduces himself to a sea of strangers. A chilling silence follows his greeting, leaving the massive audience completely unmoved and indifferent. Instead of panic, a confident smile spreads across his face because everything is perfect. The crowd is filled with newcomers who have no idea who is standing before them. He explains that this is no ordinary screening but a chance to sing along. Fans exchange confused glances, unsure of how to react to this strange new experience. His team watches in terror as the audience remains frozen in an eerie silence. Hanrock watches in surprise as Yusion takes the stage to break the icy silence. She begins a rhythmic clap, smiling with a confidence that masks her inner nerves. Slowly, the indifferent crowd begins to mimic her beat, transforming the atmosphere entirely. Seeing the plan succeed, Hanrock tells the audience to prepare for the real show. Yusion approaches him later, apologizing for taking a risk to hype the crowd. Hanrock looks at his subordinate, feeling immense pride in her sudden professional growth. He places a reassuring hand on her shoulders, confirming she did an incredible job. As the legendary performance unfolds on screen, the entire audience begins singing in unison. While his team celebrates the success, the strategist remains focused on the next phase. He knows tomorrow's reaction will be 10 times more powerful than this current victory. High-stakes logistics begin as the management team is summoned to the festival grounds. A legendary rock star arrives to offer his support for the massive upcoming event. Together they bridge the language gap to ensure every fan screams every single word. Hanrock watches his loyal subordinates flourish as they execute his master vision perfectly. The strategist meets with the live division to finalize a plan without corporate sabotage. Yu Jungtae proposes a tactical move to maximize the crowd's energy through the band. Hanrock smiles as he finally sees a company working together instead of fighting. But as the sun rises on day 2, the festival's atmosphere turns dangerously cold. Panic erupts when the headlining act fails to appear at the most critical moment. Disaster looms as their star drummer remains trapped across the sea by a storm. Yusion delivers the crushing news that the rehearsal schedule is now physically impossible. Unaware of the impending disaster, excited fans scramble to secure their spots at the barrier. Hanrock surveys the massive crowd, realizing the stakes have never been higher than today. The deadline for final preparations passes with the headlining act still nowhere in sight. A massive 3-hour gap threatens to turn this festival into a total corporate catastrophe. Desperation sinks in as Jungtae realizes his entire career is about to go up in flames. Hanrock steps forward to confirm the nightmare that the star band has truly vanished. With the clock ticking, the regressor prepares to reveal a gamble no one would dare. He commands the panicking manager to move the sing-along screening onto the main stage. Hanrock refuses to let the stage stay empty, turning a disaster into his next masterpiece. Hanrock explains that the equipment is ready to turn the main stage into a masterpiece. The terrified division head fears that Hanrock is merely trying to steal all the glory. With a tightened fist, the regressor offers a solemn promise that changes everything. He declares with absolute certainty that he will be the one to save this festival. Seeing the conviction in Hanrock's eyes, the desperate manager finally agrees to the gamble. The order is given to prepare the transition before the massive crowd turns violent. Hanrock prepares to seek the president's approval, knowing the clock is rapidly ticking down. Suddenly, a cold voice interrupts the chaos, freezing every person in the room with shock. The president himself has arrived on the scene, catching the entire staff completely off guard. He demands a private meeting, leaving the fate of the festival hanging by a thread. Hanrock secures permission to fill the empty stage with his secret master plan. The president's gaze turns cold, signaling a ruthless purge of the failing division. An invisible thread of fate snaps as the president's killing intent suddenly wavers. The strike intended to destroy the entertainment head falls uselessly to the floor. Risking his own career, Hanrock dares to defend those marked for professional execution. A chilling warning echoes as the president demands Hanrock never question him again. Hanrock pushes his luck even further, gambling everything to prevent a corporate disaster. The president yields for now, but issues a deadly ultimatum for the future. Even when dismissed, the regressor refuses to back down from this high-stakes confrontation. He proposes a final, desperate gamble to save the festival and the company's reputation. Hanrock realizes that stabilizing the current disaster will cost a fortune in capital. The president grants an astronomical budget to ensure every single complaint is silenced. An emergency meeting forces rival divisions to work together for the first time. Hanrock takes command, restructuring the entire performance schedule to save the event. While the film screening remains stable, a much larger threat looms nearby. The team discovers that the headliner's fans are reaching their breaking point. Empty apologies are discarded in favor of a high-stakes plan for proper compensation. A new ticketing system is implemented to prevent a riot in the standing zones. They prioritize the fans' comfort to shield the company's reputation from total ruin. While the staff panics over the cost, Hanrock executes the president's ultimate plan. Hanrock knows that simple compensation won't stop the impending corporate disaster. He turns to his father, entrusting him with a high-stakes psychological gambit. Outside, the exhausted crowd reaches their breaking point as tensions boil over. A sacrificial lamb takes the stage only to face a wall of pure hatred. The panicked manager becomes the perfect target for the fans' collective rage. Every stutter fuels the fire, focusing all the blame on one convenient villain. Right on cue, the real hero rushes out to end the public execution. With a humble bow, Hanrock's father offers the sincerity the crowd craves. He masterfully pivots from apologies to a plan that restores order and hope. The storm vanishes instantly as Hanrock's perfect manipulation saves the entire company. After the intense confrontation, the father finally catches his breath in relief. Hanrock reassures him that his performance was the key to their victory. This taste of success ignites a new fire in the old man's heart. The stage is set for the main event that will change everything. Hanrock gathers his core team to witness the fruits of their secret labor. A legendary performance begins as the band takes command of the massive stage. Tens of thousands of fans erupt into a sea of pure, unbridled energy. Hanrock steps forward to initiate the final phase of his master plan. On the massive screen, the cinematic masterpiece begins to grip the entire audience. Even the first-time viewers find themselves hopelessly lost in the rhythm and story. The ground begins to tremble under the weight of a rhythmic, thunderous stomp. Thousands of hands clap in unison, creating a heartbeat that echoes through the stadium. 30,000 voices erupt into a legendary anthem that shakes the very heavens. Behind the scenes, the crew moves like a perfectly oiled machine to capture history. Watching from the shadows, a broken man realizes the sheer scale of this brilliance. Jung-tae stands frozen, finally understanding the true meaning of the plan he once doubted. Hanrock commands the division head to keep the audience anchored to their spots. Faced with such overwhelming genius, Jung-tae finally admits defeat to a man like him. Yuseon rushes forward with the news that the final stars have finally arrived. As the screening ends, the crowd's roar reaches a fever pitch for the finale. Jung-tae trembles, fearing the legendary performance will completely eclipse their own upcoming debut. Hanrock remains cold and calculated, ordering his subordinate to stick strictly to the script. With a chillingly confident gaze, he reminds everyone that his name alone guarantees victory. The stage ignites as the blinkers begin a performance that will change the industry forever. An explosive wave of energy consumes the crowd, proving the plan was absolutely flawless. Amidst the chaos, Yuseon watches with a heart full of overwhelming emotion and pride. Hanrock notices her hesitation, questioning if the intense pressure of the night is too much. She simply smiles, admitting that witnessing such a perfect moment brings her pure joy. Confronted by his overwhelming success, she praises the manager for his terrifyingly brilliant mind. Hanrock credits her instead, acknowledging that her passion was the spark this victory needed. Yuseon hides her deep admiration behind a humble smile as the festival ends. Hanrock encourages his loyal teammate, pushing her to reach even greater heights together. Overwhelmed with joy, she vows to prove her worth in the battles yet to come. The moment of peace shatters when a sudden summons from the president arrives. Behind the scenes of the empty festival, the true architect of victory is revealed. Facing the top brass, Hanrock is offered immense rewards for his legendary performance. Instead of taking the prize, he prepares to make a bold, unexpected move. He begins listing every colleague who fought by his side during the corporate war. By sharing the credit, he cements his influence over every department in the company. The president realizes Hanrock is building an army of loyal followers right under him. The president finally acknowledges that Hanrock's victory was built by an entire team. As the massive screening ends, the crew begins dismantling the festival's grand stage. Hanrock urges Yuseon to rest, but she refuses to leave the corporate battlefield. Driven by a new fire, she insists on learning every secret of the industry. Looking into her eyes, Hanrock sees a reflection of his own relentless ambition. Her burning passion reminds him of a legendary anthem heard only hours ago. He envisions the roaring crowd, a testament to the absolute power they now wield. She asks if she can ever reach the heights he currently stands upon. Even the president notices her transformation as she steps out of the shadows. Hanrock smiles, knowing she has already become someone formidable without even realizing it.